something going on in the modem and the signal or that, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, YouTube's now connecting. Hopefully that'll work. There we go. YouTube's back. Gotta get this chat menu back up. Hold up. Sorry about all that. And then I also did order a new modem just in case it happens to be that, but that won't be here till Sunday. So I guess we will just roll with it and then log if any issues do happen to come up. Okay, YouTube chat is now opened up. We should all be kosher right now. So far, not showing any dropped frames over there, so I think we are good to get back into the flow of it. So, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm back. It looked like I was having an ISP issue. So, I'm not sure if there's water in the line. So I rebooted the firewall, I rebooted the modem. There were some other issues, but they were unrelated, so I was going down a rabbit hole of other issues. I stopped the IDS IPS, I ran Twitch in test mode as well, was still getting issues. I don't know if it's the modem. The modem is like a little more than 2 years old, which should still be plenty of life for a modem, but I have a new modem coming in. I did see that there was a shit ton of errors on one of the channels that the DOCSIS connects over. I wish we could get fiber already, but it is what it is. So we will see what happens. There will be a tech that comes out tomorrow. Maybe they'll find something, maybe they won't. I have a feeling it's related to the weather. I have a feeling. Because we've been, doing pretty well for a while. Oh yeah, let me disable shield mode on the, thing over there. How come your 5G backup didn't kick in? Because it was flapping so hard. So in a flapping situation, 5G doesn't help. Because it was going on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. So the 5G only works in a situation of, hey, yeah. Wait. Is there really only a black screen going on there for the Twitch side? Let me make sure. Hold on. Okay, let me make sure everything is working as intended. Flapping should have a cooldown. Yeah, well, the flapping, it was weird because it was like the modem was going like on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. Welcome to the life of networking. What the hell? The, Twitch side is not back on. So let me try this again. Hold on. Oh. Because I'm a moron. Hold on. So I put it in test mode, which probably helps if I... Okay. Now, Twitch should be back. It probably helps if, when you turn Twitch back on, you don't run it still in test mode. Yeah. Hooray. Also, I wonder if... Could it have been... No, it wouldn't have been the Twitch ingestion servers, because TikTok was also having issues. But yeah. Anyway, so one of the main indicators, I don't know if I can show you the screen. Here. I will close that. Okay. So I'm going to show you this screen that I had with my modem. Okay, so this was my modem status page over here. All the signals look to be, like, really good. I think you want to keep these between 35 and 45 decibels. Everything is within spec. It's this part I'm worried about. And then channel 30 not locking is another thing that made me raise an eyebrow. But the upstream is working perfectly fine. So that's basically my concern that I have. And I was also, you know, using VS Code to poke at some things to see was that part of the issue. But we shall roll with the punches, see what happens. The firewall's been rebooted, the modem's been rebooted, although the firewall technically crashed. That's a whole other thing I'm going into. But that looked like a FreeBSD issue, I think it was. Yeah. So, hooray! I understand non-commercial doesn't have cooldown, but commercial does, plus health poles, commercial routers, I mean. Even a Meraki has health poles, so does pfSense. So I do have a health pole. The issue is it was going too fast for it. Like, it was literally, like, within milliseconds apart. So, it is what it is. But we're just gonna have to keep an eye on it. Maybe it was purely upstream with the ISP, and there was some borked signal going in that maybe the modem cleared out, but I was also having issues during testing, so who knows? Who knows? We can hypothesize about a whole bunch of things. But we can at least roll back into it. Is it gonna put back on? Okay, anyway. Wait, did Stream Demon not kick out my alert? God damn it. Now I gotta check Stream Demon. Oh, is it 213? Yeah, it's 213. No. Welcome to tech. Intermittent is always infinitely harder to detect than just down. Oh, absolutely. That's part of the issue I was having with, you know, some of these issues is they're just so transient. It's hard to track down any issue. Docker. Oh no. Oh no. Stream Demon's kicking in. High five past me. High five past me. Okay, it sees the live on Twitch, which means YouTube should be kicking in very shortly. Hopefully. What is it? Docker. Logs. Has there been a game where you had to pick a specific version of Proton to use? Yes! There are a few games that have definitely done that. Usually it's like ones that release later. Like newer games, you usually have to go grab the latest version of Proton and then apply that, and then it just works. But yeah. Anyway, let's get back into the review on stream before we were rudely interrupted by my ISP. It looks like it was ISP issues. Something with the signal. I do have a modem coming in, for those just coming in now. That should be here Sunday, in case that happened to be part of it. Worst case, I send it back. Best case, I have a modem right before Sunday's stream. I was thinking about streaming on Saturday, but then I'm like, you know what? Now with school starting, I'm gonna probably at least dedicate some Saturday time for me to do those. Yeah. Alright, so let me Reset pipe wire so we can get a sync going. Reapplying the sync. Yep, we're back. It looked like it was some ISP-related issues after troubleshooting, but the firewall and the modem have been rebooted. I did troubleshoot a crash log that PF shot, but that seems like it was a totally different issue, which I still need to make a bug report about. I think it was just because this firewall it's being pushed to its limits. Which is partially why I'm getting the new box. So, it is what it is. Let me pull up Cisco EEM. I'm not touching Cisco. Their licensing is a pain in the ass. Okay. Now, let me, before we get into this, make sure we've got the audio working again. Bear with me. We got to do the testersons.
Front, left.
Okay, cool. Audio's working again. Okay, so
we're in the middle of
this. Last we were at was Windows 25H2 has some performance issues, and before I was rudely interrupted by some of my own network performance issues. There you go. You're not wrong, but as a Cisco jockey, that hurts me. Well, my answer would be pick a better vendor.
Apocalypse, and Microsoft is out here gobbling it all up in the name of optimization. There's actually two parts to this issue. Firstly, in a recent update, Windows will now enable
what happened earlier, the ISP seems to be having some issues, and after rebooting my modem, the firewall, and the Windows PC that's running the stream, it all seemed to work a little bit better, but we'll see about that. I have an ISP technician scheduled to come out tomorrow. I have a new modem being shipped to me as well that should be here Sunday. Worst case, I ship the modem back and it's unrelated to that, but either way, we'll get our solutions figured out.
Default, a service that's known for absolutely chopping down your memory megabytes the longer it's left on. The AppX deployment service was turned to on by default to, quote, improve reliability in some isolated scenarios, but it is an overconsumer in plenty of instances. Then there's the reported delivery optimization set.
Okay, yeah, and we were talking about this before I crashed the internet, that I'm doing way more on this desktop right now. Last we were poking at it, as you can see, 16 gigabytes of RAM, right? But I'm running Discord, Element, which is my matrix, Chromium with 4 tabs so that I can get the chat pulled up from Social Stream Ninja, Firefox with 2 windows and 10 tabs total, Heroic Launcher, Blink Disk is running over here, VeraCrypt for my encryption, Visual Studio Code with a couple of windows over here. One was so I could formulate a crash report a little bit better. I think I said Steam. So we have all these things running, right? And we're using 16 gigabytes of RAM. Then when we go over to the Windows desktop over here, I'm currently using 29% of my 64 gigabytes, which equates to 18.6 gigabytes. And all I am running is OBS Studio, going to 4 different sources, Firefox with 2 tabs, StreamerBot, Bitwarden, OBS bot, which is the camera little thing so I can, control it with the remote. And that's it. Like, I effectively am doing far less on this machine, the Windows Stream box, than I am on the Linux workstation over here. And the Linux workstation is still using less memory. It blows my mind. And before anyone asks, yes, I also have Bitdefender running on the Windows PC too. But even then, it's ridiculous how it's using so much. Anyway,
This one isn't turned on by default just yet, but it's a feature that lets you essentially turn your system into a torrent seed for Windows and app updates. It has local only modes or let everyone else access your system for updates, but
So the delivery optimization feature, I thought that was a feature they had automatically enabled in Windows 8, I think it was as older, but I think Windows 10 has it. I usually disable that because I only have one Windows machine here, and then Yitz has his Windows laptop, and then I have my Windows laptop for school, but ultimately they don't need to be distributing updates to each other like that.
issue is that if you leave it on for an extended period of time, its RAM usage grows more than most other services.
Wait, what?
Thankfully, there's ways to fix both of these. One is opt out of the AppX deployment service on startup, and the other is don't opt into the delivery optimization. When the streets are
I have that
over
disabled.
16 gigs of RAM, you gotta conserve every kilobyte.
But yeah, Windows is just horribly unoptimized. And I hardly believe that they're going to fix a lot of that issue. But yeah. Okay. Moving on to the next video. Red Fang, Vampire Lord, one of the mods. I opted out of Copilot on Visual Studio, and it still opens every time. Well, I actually do use Copilot on Visual Studio. But, yeah. It is what it is. I like Copilot, though, at least on Visual Studio, but I use GitHub Copilot Pro Plus. Let's move on. Every banned operating system in history explained in 9 minutes. This was a video that one of my mods wanted me to see on stream. So let's see. This is from Bite Me Explained. Smaller channel, so let's give them some awareness.
For certain governments. Tails OS is one of the few operating systems built with a single purpose: erase everything. No logs, no history, no digital footsteps. Once you're
not really erase so much as it doesn't keep. It's more amnesiac than anything. But the issue that I have with Tails very often is it's that one operating system. So Kali and Tails both are these operating systems I notice that a lot of people, when they're just starting out using Linux, just start using without actually reading the documentation. And it's not that I hate these operating systems for what they do. They're great operating systems. It's that I hate that a lot of people just jump to using them, because immediately when I see people saying that, oh, I use Tails or I use Kali, I kind of side-eye them. And in most cases, it's, you are relatively new, you don't know what you're doing, because there's better ways to do that. Tails is that kind of operating system that, yeah, the idea is sound. Again, great idea. I'm not knocking it by any means. You put it on a flash drive, and then the main advantage of Tails is you can then start using random computers you normally wouldn't trust. So imagine you're on the run, and you have to start using random computers to connect to things. That's the use case of Tails. And Kali is the kind of operating system where I tell people, keep it in a VM or on a USB, but I wouldn't recommend installing it bare metal in most cases. In those cases, I would say go to Parrot OS, or set up Arch and then install the tools you want, or set up any other Linux distro and install the tools you want and need. But Kali's not really optimized to be a daily driver operating system. There's a few issues that go on with it every now and then. But anyway, again, let's continue on.
ends, Tails forgets you existed, almost like an extremely secure.
Yeah, it's amnesiac.
Journalists, whistleblowers,
Bias no one
advocates,
attacking me.
and
Devils.
ordinary users rely on it because
They're
it
not
pipes
bad,
all
there are
network
better
traffic
options.
through
Yeah,
Tor
exactly.
and stores nothing on your device unless you specifically ask it to. But this level of privacy becomes a problem the moment a government prefers surveillance over security. Several countries move to restrict or ban the use of Tails because it makes user activity untraceable.
Which countries did that?
Dangerous. It was that its invisibility made monitoring impossible. For regimes that rely on control, an untraceable computer is basically a ghost with Wi-Fi.
So I would presume that would be Iran, That would be China, potentially, Russia, maybe. Countries that generally want oversight into the things that you do. Now, as I've said before, there are better options, which is why I generally recommend
Some national agencies
I generally recommend Hunix for when you're wanting to do secure Tor browsing. I recommend this 99% of the times over Tails. Tails is better if, you know, you're kind of on the run. Like, think Edward Snowden situation. What's been going on with the stream? So, the ISP was having issues. That's basically what it comes down to, is the ISP was having issues, so I rebooted the modem, rebooted the firewall. Things seem to be okay right now, but I do have a technician coming tomorrow, and I have a new modem also coming in from Amazon Sunday to see that. No single entity has 100% banned Tails, but it's highly restricted in places where Tor isn't allowed. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, Hunix is generally what I will recommend people to if they need a secure way to use the Tor browser, and they don't just want to, what's the word? They don't want to, just use the Tor function on Brave or the straight Tor browser, which is based on Firefox.
even issued internal briefs warning about Tails, not because criminals were using it more than anyone else, but because officials realized they couldn't gather intelligence from a system designed to wipe its memory clean every single time it powers off. The irony is that Tails only became dangerous to governments because it worked exactly as intended. The OS that looked too much like Windows,
React OS. Any brand of Wi-Fi router you recommend, or is any fine? In most cases, for the average person, any off-the-shelf router is good for most people these days. If you do Wi-Fi, I generally recommend mesh systems if you need more coverage and you find you have dead spots. But, yeah, I have my own router and firewall that I built using pfSense on my own Supermicro hardware with Unify switches and access points. You back? No, I didn't end. I didn't want to end. The ISP was having issues, and then I had to go troubleshoot, reboot the modem, reboot the router, and then I found that the modem was shooting out a bunch of corrected errors. There's a technician coming tomorrow. But so far, the connection seems to be leveled out, so...
OS. React OS is an open source attempt to rebuild Windows from scratch. Not copy it, not clone it, but recreate its behavior.
We've actually shown React OS on stream a few times.
One of the most ambitious projects in OS history.
It's also been going on for like over 20 years.
Airplane by staring at it through a window. The goal was noble. Give the world a free Windows-compatible operating system that could run legacy apps and drivers without licensing fees. But because it mimicked Windows so closely, several institutions quietly banned or blacklisted it due to legal uncertainty. If Microsoft ever decided React OS crossed the line into infringement, anyone using it, especially government offices, could be caught in a lawsuit crossfire.
My understanding is because of the way that they do the reverse engineering is completely legal under the DMCA. It doesn't come across as a legal issue, but I haven't heard of anyone outright blocking it. But to be fair, React OS is still beta. Like, it moved out of alpha to beta only in the past year or two, so it's still got a lot of improvements to go. Like, I would not recommend it as a stable operating system. It's really promising. It's really fast.
Early builds were incredibly unstable.
Yeah.
Icons vanished, drivers crashed, menus froze. One user joked that React OS crashed before the desktop finished loading, which didn't inspire confidence for large-scale deployment. Certain countries and organizations simply prohibited its use outright, not because React OS was malicious, but because its legal ambiguity and technical fragility made it too risky for official adoption. The OS wasn't banned for wrongdoing, it was banned to avoid the possibility of future drama. The OS that embarrassed a government. Red Star OS 2.0. Red Star OS is North Korea's state-built operating system designed
We've also played with this one on stream.
Ideological purity.
I have an image somewhere. If we go into VM ISO NAS, give it a second to mount. Yep, here we go. We've got a Red Star ISO over here. So we've actually done that. I feel like this video stretches the truth. I feel like it too. I feel like it's stretching it a little bit as well. Because there's been like a few things. Because I haven't heard of anyone banning React OS for any reason. But Red Star, so far we've talked about all of these operating systems it shows in the past. Sorry, when you say mesh system, can we buy that router modem in Amazon or Best Buy? Yes. Mesh is more of a technology than it is a brand. So, like, you can get the, what is it? Unify has the Amplify HD, which I really like. Those are nice home systems stuff. Netgear has the Orbi or Orbic or the Orb, whatever. They have like some mesh system too. Netgear has one. TP-Link has one, I think. The Unify one is probably my preferred one. It's a little bit more expensive, but for the average user, it's more than enough. Sysadmin? What about sysadmin?
Custom text editor, custom everything, all heavily monitored. The OS even watermarks files internally so authorities can trace who shared what. But despite this obsessive control, Red Star 2.0 became the punchline of an international cybersecurity conference when researchers hacked it so thoroughly they replaced its startup sound with Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. That hack spread globally, and soon the world was laughing at an embarrassed regime whose official OS got rickrolled. The government response was swift. The older Red Star version was banned internally, replaced by a lockdown rebuild with tighter kernel modifications and reduced attack surfaces. They upgraded mandatory encryption, patched vulnerabilities, and removed anything that previously allowed foreign researchers to toy with the system. Red Star 3.0 became significantly harder to modify, not because they feared criminals, but because they feared humiliation. In an environment where image matters,
I think we only have Red Star 2.0. We haven't played with Red Star 3.0.
OS that could be manipulated into meme territory became unacceptable. So, the earlier version was effectively erased from official use. The OS that triggered global restrictions, early Harmony OS. Harmony OS was caught in the crossfire of...
So we haven't played with Harmony OS, but that's Huawei's setup.
When international trade restrictions struck Huawei, governments worldwide began re-evaluating whether their infrastructure should rely on software or hardware connected to foreign vendors. Early Harmony OS builds weren't banned for technical reasons, they were banned out of geopolitical caution. Some nations restricted its use in telecom networks, government systems, and critical infrastructure simply because they feared potential backdoors or dependency risks.
The interesting thing with Huawei, I was told this by a friend of mine who's actually from China. If you go get a Huawei phone over there, and you actually, I think, if I'm correct in remembering what he said, because you can't use a Huawei phone technically out the box in the USA on our networks, like it won't even let you connect to the towers, they have a way, an option, I think, in the phone to load it up so it looks like it's something else. But yeah, they have a way to trick the towers into thinking it's not a Huawei.
It didn't help that Harmony OS was still evolving and in some cases shared components with Android, causing additional confusion about its internals. To policymakers, ambiguity is a security risk. Better to block it than to audit it endlessly. Ironically, these restrictions occurred before Harmony OS had a chance to demonstrate reliability or transparency. It was essentially banned for what it might become, not what it was. This made it one of the rare operating systems to be politically restricted on a global scale before reaching technological maturity. Harmony OS eventually improved dramatically, but the early bans highlight how operating systems aren't just technical tools, they're pieces of national strategy. Even a well-designed OS can't escape global tension. The malware-loaded Android forks that got banned. Because Android is open source,
what
anyone
forks
can modify
got
it,
banned?
rebrand it, and ship it. That's how we get dozens of custom Android forks, some legitimate, some experimental, and some that probably should have stayed in the developer's recycle bin. A number of extremely cheap smartphones sold globally were discovered to be running Android forks preloaded with spyware, hidden trackers, crypto miners, or unremovable adware buried deep in system partitions.
Really?
These weren't small issues. Some phones secretly recorded usage data and transmitted it every 15 minutes to servers that investigators couldn't even identify. Others injected ads into apps that didn't have ads. A few even harvested contact lists silently. Once these findings emerged, governments and carriers...
Why you gotta be showing the old Nokia phones?
Outright. Google, followed by blocking Play services from devices using unverified forks, In some countries, laws were drafted requiring all Android-based phones to run approved, auditable OS versions.
So, what versions were banned then? At least give us some sources, my dude.
Irony is that these forks weren't created by elite hackers. Many were simply rushed attempts by budget manufacturers trying to cut corners. But an OS that behaves like malware becomes indistinguishable from malware. So,
Yeah,
they were banned,
Windows is that
quarantined,
example.
and replaced with trusted alternatives. The pirated Windows builds that became public enemies. Pirated Windows builds have existed since the dawn of Windows itself, often branded
Yep.
as light editions or performance editions. Many promised more speed by stripping out system components. In practice, this meant someone removed random DLLs until the OS behaved like a caffeinated toddler. Things got worse when modified Windows builds started
It's a good
including
way to
hidden
put it.
payloads, crypto miners, remote access trojans, keyloggers, or browser hijackers. Some of these builds found their way into schools, public offices, and even local government departments in certain regions.
And overall, this is a big reason why I tell people, stop pirating Windows. I mean, as much as you may think that you're getting, the upper hand or, you're improving it, there's a lot of things that you don't know about it. And yeah, I know some people say, well, there's this, GitHub thing that lets me, do all that and it's open source. There's been malware that slips by open source stuff. Hate to break it to you. So my advice would be just stick with the official Windows builds. And if you don't like Windows, well, you got options. But one of the biggest vectors of malware distribution is not adult content, it's pirated software, games, and operating systems.
Systems slowed to a crawl, security
And cracks
breaches
for
occurred,
operating
and
systems.
IT teams discovered these machines weren't just pirated, they were compromised.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, several countries began officially banning the use of unlicensed or modified Windows builds in government institutions. Laws forced agencies
Articles
to audit
raid,
systems
haven't
and
seen
migrate
content
everything
from
to
that guy in
verified,
forever. Yeah, I saw he was
licensed
live, so I
versions.
was
They
like,
weren't
yeah,
banning
may
them
as
for
well.
piracy. They were banning them because the security risk was catastrophic. One
Your thoughts on people saying install Tiny 11? I don't recommend it. Here's the reason why. As much as we may not like Microsoft and may say that their operating system is bloated, they have a model they know is going to work. There's a lot of unintended behavior you can have from disabling things. And even then, when you go to pull a Windows update, it may just, install all that crap again. So, yeah. If you were really, I would at most, install Windows properly, then debloat it after the fact. But I wouldn't, do a pre-debloated agent to begin with, because you don't know what was removed and why it was removed, or even if it makes sense to remove. Emulators are great for free games. Wait, what? Did my TikTok, nope, we're still on the right thing. Okay, cool. IoT LTSC builds are awesome. They're not meant for average use. They're not meant for average use, and people need to stop being like, well, I just installed the IoT. No. Just use the regular builds, whether it's home, or as I say, get at least Pro, but I personally use Enterprise, and roll with that. LTSC, IoT builds are not designed for everyday usage. And I don't want to hear the argument of, well, it's been working for me. Yeah, it works for you now, but it wasn't designed for consumer usage. And you don't know what unintended behavior can happen from using your consumer software on a version not designed for that. Pop! OS versus Ubuntu? Well, Pop! OS is a fork of Ubuntu that just has a lot more polish, so that's why I use it for desktops rather than just straight Ubuntu, but I use Ubuntu for my servers.
build even played music automatically at startup, including a version that blasted the Shrek soundtrack.
Emulators are great for free games. Emulator is a totally different apples and oranges
things
things.
weren't just unstable, they were liabilities. And governments had no choice but to outlaw them in official environments. The corporate ban on Temple OS. Temple OS is one of the most unusual operating systems ever created. A handmade, biblical
Pop! OS bases Ubuntu LTS. Yeah, that's a fork. That's the definition of a fork. You take the base software, you modify it to how you want with a whole different project. That's a fork. That's how it is. That's the definition of it.
OS built with 16-color graphics.
Well, Temple OS hasn't been banned. I feel like he's really stretching it in this video.
Divine inspiration. It doesn't support modern networking, modern hardware, or modern security standards because it wasn't designed to. It was a personal vision turned into a functioning operating system. However, curiosity led some employees in corporate environments to install Temple OS on work machines just to experiment. IT departments quickly discovered that Temple OS interacts poorly with modern office setups. Some corporate
it's not
networks
meant for
crashed
them.
when Temple OS attempted to interact with legacy network drivers. Even stranger, its print handling caused unpredictable output loops. One incident involved Temple OS triggering repeated print jobs that produced pages of Bible verses across every available printer, effectively giving the company an unplanned religious
Why
sermon.
does the guy in the video sound like AI?
HR
It
departments
may
questioned
very
their
well
life
be.
choices, and executives demanded immediate bans. Corporate security policies were updated to blacklist Temple OS entirely. It wasn't banned for wrongdoing. It was banned because it simply couldn't
Imagine
exist
what he
safely
would have
in
built if he had
enterprise
access to
ecosystems built
LLM
around
tools.
security, compliance, and network stability. Temple OS remains a fascinating piece of computing history, but it's incompatible with the modern world, especially offices with printers. The OS that got legally erased, Windows OS. Windows OS was one of the
I remember Lindos. That was a thing early on in my Linux adventures. I remember. What did Lindos become? Hold on. Lindos, it became something else. Linspire. So Linspire, was what it actually became. The latest release was apparently 2 years ago. Does Linspire still exist? Yeah, they still exist. Okay. Interesting. I think this is it. You can purchase Linspire from our web store. Oh, so you have to actually buy it. Ew. I'd pay for Red Hat before I'd pay for this.
and shortest-lived attempts to merge the Linux and Windows worlds.
Oh yeah,
Launched in the early
Microsoft
2000s,
definitely
its
threatened to
pitch was
sue them.
simple. Run Windows apps on Linux without needing Windows. That was the dream. The reality? Microsoft immediately saw the name.
It's not forked, more derivative. You're looking at it's still using Ubuntu's own repos. Yeah, that still doesn't mean it's not a fork. It's still taking, okay, it's still going to their Git, basically, forking that entire code into their own project branch, and then modifying it as they need. That is literally the definition of a fork. So, hold on. Essentially, Pop! OS is an Ubuntu fork which doesn't have snap packages in its core. Their own repos are at high priority, so okay, it's a fork. Yeah, well, because they're forking a lot of the Ubuntu stuff, but they don't want to maintain the Ubuntu-based packages.
And said, absolutely not. Their legal team treated it like someone opened a store called McDonald's and promised better fries. Multiple lawsuits hit the project across several countries, and some courts even issued rulings that effectively banned.
That's a good way to put it, VTuber.
Or sold.
You said it, not me.
Retailers in certain regions were ordered to stop distributing it entirely. The funny part is that Windows OS wasn't even that close to Windows. It used a compatibility layer that struggled to run half the apps it advertised. But the name alone caused enough confusion that judges considered it too.
And mind you, the compatibility layer, this was before Proton even existed. Kind of interesting.
In the Netherlands, Sweden, Belgium, and even parts of the United States, the brand couldn't legally appear on shelves. The developers eventually changed the name to Linspire, but the damage was done. The OS that tried to bridge two worlds got banned for almost sounding like the bigger one. In the end, Windows OS wasn't outlawed for technical reasons, it was banned because it poked the wrong giant.
Oh, yeah. That video definitely sounded like it was like AI generated. Okay, let's move on to the next video. Old Mario still got it. God, Vampire, you really put on a bunch of videos. But we need to go through that queue. What? When the monsters in Mario start feeling bad for you. Okay. Vampire put another video up. This is Everything is Linux by Maker? Maker? I don't know who this is. Makhir. Mike Alpha Kilo Hotel India Ringo.
Oh, no one uses Linux. True. Most of the time when we use laptops or PCs, that's usually Windows or Mac. Like this iPad.
Bro, can you have any more reverb? Like, is that bothering anyone else? Like, how much reverb I'm hearing from his audio? Any goals for 2026? Yeah, either a new job or title, moving on from the current job that I have, going to DEF CON this year again, I'm paying off some cards and maybe finally being in the green for my content creation LLC for once.
But your laptops and PCs are useless without the devices around you. So today I'm gonna tell you, like, I have no idea, there's a lot of things that I guarantee you had no idea use Linux. Is 100% gonna blow your mind. So first, let me explain what Linux actually is.
Not blowing my mind as much as how much reverb you have.
System. So in simple terms, a kernel is what sits at the base of your computer, controlling like your CPU and stuff. And then you can build user interfaces on top of that. That's how you get like Ubuntu or Nobara OS or whatever. Now this is important to understand because Linux is not just the operating system. Linux is the kernel. It means it can work without the user interface. But that caveat aside, the first most widespread use of Linux is... Now, people say no one uses Linux. Don't let the haters bring you down, baby. But what if I told you that Linux is the popular kid on the block?
Right.
I don't know, that joke didn't really... That's right, kids. Android, the world's most popular operating system, is based on Linux. And now Android is f***ing everywhere. Like, seriously, it's actually kind of annoying. It's in your...
It really is annoying.
In your tablets. It's probably in your f***ing watch.
Probably in your fucking fridge, too.
It's on your TV. So that's Android TV and it sucks. Or maybe my Sony TV sucks, I don't know.
I don't like smart TVs.
Then if you have
I don't. I really don't.
TV or
I'd rather have a dumb TV and then plug in a smart TV dongle. Like the TV I have in my bedroom is a Samsung I got secondhand, and I'd rather put a Roku stick in it than I would use the native features because they're so goddamn slow. I don't want a smart TV. Give me a dumb TV with good picture and inputs, because the other thing is, those TVs aren't going to get software updates as well as they should. Eventually, I do want to move on from Roku and maybe get some set-top boxes, probably running a Linux or something. I'll figure it out when I eventually start looking at doing Jellyfin. But that's neither here nor there right now. I'd rather play with rocks on the riverbank than have a smart TV. Yeah, but the problem is, you know how hard it is to just buy a dumb TV these days? It is dumb.
That is also based on Linux. If you have a DVR, who the hell does... If for whatever reason you're like 50 and have a DVR, that's also probably Linux based. And then for...
Or Windows.
Instead of like a PS5 or whatever, that probably also runs Linux embedded software. And speaking of things in your home, if you have a Wi-Fi router, well, you obviously do, that uses embedded Linux software to route traffic and stuff. And by the way...
Not always, but yes.
Google Home or whatever, the smart device thing that people use that I don't use because it's kind of creepy. Also, a quick plug. If you like the shirts I'm wearing, you can find them in the link below. I'm gonna stop producing them before the Christmas or before the year ends. I honestly like these shirts. I do wear them.
Wait, Linux and a PS5? No, Linux, PlayStation 5 is actually not Linux. PlayStation has historically been using BSD. I think more specifically FreeBSD. Same thing as pfSense. Yeah, it's more of a BSD. Now, PlayStation did sell Linux kits to turn your computer into a Linux machine for the PlayStation 2, I think the PlayStation 1. I'm not sure about that one. But I know the PlayStation 3, you definitely could turn it into a Linux machine using the other OS feature on the fat PS3s, because famously, the United States Air Force got 10,000 PlayStation 3s, made a Linux supercomputer cluster, and, yeah, they use that. PS3 was way ahead of its time. Oh, yeah, absolutely. The PS3 was a freaking beast. My friend is using a decent-sized monitor as a TV because it doesn't have smart features from smart TVs. That's good. The only issue that I have is you can only get a monitor so large until you just have to start going for a TV. That's the issue. What's up, Kisto?
Merch. Click fast, buy now, look cool. Chromebooks. Of all the underfunded schools across America, I mean like high school, not college, because God knows colleges are not underfunded. I would know. I'm in severe debt. If your laptop breaks, you always go to the library to get a quick Chromebook. Although that was, you didn't really want to do that. Chromebooks are kind of shit. But yeah, that also runs Linux. Let's say you go out to have a nice meal, and then you ask for the check, and then the waiter brings you that little card machine thing. Also Linux.
So
Probably, yeah.
Linux, by the way.
I swear to God, I didn't get into this car to brag. This is not my car.
This whole UI in this car is built on Linux, and it's not just Mercedes-Benz.
Apparently, it's Toyota, Subaru, Tesla, Mazda, Honda, all are part of AGL, or automotive grade Linux.
Yep.
So a lot of these cars that I mentioned, if you ever use the UI or the entertainment system, or just the instrument cluster like the speedometer and stuff, that is all running on Linux. Pretty soon, even the safety features will be running on Linux. We're getting there. You know, in Times Square, you know the screens that show all
Well, that makes sense, because you'd rather have... So the problem is, like, years ago, automotive developers used to have to develop their own operating systems for their ECUs and all that stuff inside their cars, and it was proprietary to each company, which then meant they had to have their own divisions solely devoted to making and maintaining their own version of doing the same thing as other companies. So it makes sense for car companies to actually have a common base and then only have to worry about this small layer of the entire operating system rather than the entire stack. So, yeah, it makes sense. My old car infotainment ran Windows CE, new one is Android based. Yeah, mine has Microsoft Sync in it.
When there was just like a massive
It's an old
screen
Ford.
on one of the ads. And it's not just in Times Square, by the way. There's a lot of just digital ad screens that use Linux software. In fact, a lot of the public displays like that show like flight times or train times or whatever, those also run Linux embedded software. Or the ticketing machines that you get like to...
A lot of those are still running Windows embedded. Or Windows IoT. We know that from the CrowdStrike outage, just being honest. And a lot of those ATMs are Windows-based, too. It's changing. You're starting to see more Linux ones, too.
Okay, so let's say you don't use Androids. But Makira, I only use iPhone, so do I. Actually,
I'm seeing some still running XP7. Yeah.
Network runs on Linux software. So I'm not gonna pretend like I understand exactly how it works. But apparently when you make calls or use the internet and stuff, it gets routed through the cell towers, and all that software is running on Linux. And speaking of the internet, do you use YouTube? Of course.
It's not all necessarily Linux. There is a good mix of BSDs in there. BSDs have a much better network stack than Linux. Yeah, that's right. I like BSDs better for their network stack than I do Linux. That's why I use pfSense.
But basically, Google, TikTok, Instagram, whatever.
Low quality hot takes, to be honest.
In fact, I have one million.
Well, yeah, I'm not expecting this guy to really be an expert. He's more so probably just doing like clickbaity videos. But hey, my mod wanted me to watch this video for the stream, so it is what it is.
96.3% are running Linux. Even Microsoft Azure, which is a cloud provider by the way, has more Linux VMs than Windows VMs. That's actually crazy. Microsoft will crap out Windows just because it's cheaper to use Linux. Microsoft will crap out their own operating system.
No, it's not that it's cheaper, it's that it's better. That's not hyperbole, that's not me making an opinion or anything like that. Microsoft themselves have said that they use Linux on their back end of their servers even to deploy Windows updates and stuff like that to Windows users and stuff because it just works a lot better for the things that they need to do. How do we submit videos? So if you go in the Discord, there's a review on stream channel. You can put the videos in there, and then we can, you know, always check and see if we want to, like, view it. Most likely it'll get viewed. There's a good chance I might skip over it if it's a long video. Generally, I like to keep the videos, like, 20, 25 minutes or under. Because, you know, with commentary and everything like that, it can take longer. Like, there's a couple other videos I definitely want to watch, but they're on the 50-minute side, and it's kind of a, you know, a big ask to do that. To the average person, they probably never have heard of BSD, or if they have, it may as well be Linux. Fair enough. Got a 3400G SFF to get into Linux, maybe NAS, Pi-hole, and thinking about a GPU for stable diffusion. Nice. It's a nice little starter. When you say 3400G, do you mean AMD Ryzen 3400G, the CPU, or is it another small form factor PC from a different company? Just curious. Would Bazite be great for it, or a different one? Bazite is... I'm not saying that one is better for, you know, everything. It really depends on the use case. Bazite is more so if you're just trying to do more of a gaming focus on things. That's how it is. And it's also immutable. So if you're really trying to tinker with it, and you're looking at a desktop side, I'd probably lean more towards Pop! OS personally, or at least straight Ubuntu, or even Debian. But if you're trying to do more gaming stuff, then Bazite might be a better option in those, you know, I mean, not better, but an option. It's not that, you know, it's bad, it's that if you're trying to do general purpose tinkering and all of that, I wouldn't really generally start with Bazite. Maybe Linux Mint, maybe Ubuntu, maybe Pop! OS. But yeah. Hyper-specific tasks, I've seen Linux work 20 times better at work. We basically have no Windows. Oh yeah, totally. Except for endpoints. Only server running it is AD and DNS. That makes total sense, too. Why is it when I change my DNS settings on my PS5, the Wi-Fi speeds go up? That's an apples and oranges thing, because, well, you probably don't mean Wi-Fi in terms of bandwidth. Here's the thing. DNS doesn't actually make your internet faster. I see some of you typing. Hold up. Here's the thing. Your DNS is only hit on that first request. So when you do that initial lookup to, like, have google.com and then have it translated to an IP address, that is what the DNS server is going to do. After that initial DNS lookup of what the domain translates to an IP, it doesn't keep hitting it. It then stores it in cache for at least a few minutes, and then keeps hitting the IP address until the DNS goes around. Now, there are cases where at least the DNS resolution can make things resolve a little bit faster, but overall, most DNS speedups tend to be a placebo effect in these days and ages. However, if you're using an ISP DNS, there are often cases where the ISP DNS is overloaded and not well optimized. So switching to, I use, for example, Quad 9 with a backup of Cloudflare and a tertiary of Google DNS with DNS over TLS, you know, you'll do a little bit better. But yeah. 0.0.0 would be invalid, or does it pull a router one? It'll be invalid if you hard code to 0000, because that doesn't go anywhere, from my understanding. With the bug reports on POP24, maybe mention going to the archive to grab 2204. Oh yeah, definitely. I'm still on 2204. I'm planning to not, you know, install 2404. I'm planning to wait until 2604 in a few months. Depends on TTL and cache settings. Yeah, but even then, unless you're doing a massive amount of DNS lookups, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Because it's only doing it on that first lookup until TTL expires and then it goes to do another pull. Ryzen 3400G SSFF selling for... Oh, yeah, I got that exact same CPU and a motherboard I'm about to throw into my second LLM server. Not gaming on it, so we'll look into the other OS then. Yeah, so maybe if you're trying to do a server, Ubuntu Server Edition is pretty good. Or, you know, Debian, but it'll be a little bit older in packages, but it'll be stable. And then Pop! OS is, you know, a great one for desktop. You'll be good there.
Telling you can't trust Microsoft. Okay, and get this. The reason why you use Linux instead of Windows is because Windows keeps f***ing updating itself and it keeps getting the server crashed. I don't understand why Windows has to keep doing that. This video is sponsored by ChukeTech. So I travel a lot and I have...
Is it really pronounced Chook Tech? Because I've seen that company around and I keep calling it Cuck Tech. Like, tell me you would not... Hold on.
This video...
Tell me you would not call that Cuck Tech. There is nowhere in my brain that I look at that and I'm like, oh yeah, it's supposed to be Chook Tech. No, that is Cuck Tech. Like, I'm expecting, you know, like, they have, you know, somebody, their significant other is stooping somebody else in front of them. It is Cuck Tech. Yeah, Cuck Tech. It you know, didn't allow you. Yeah, the auto mod caught you on that one.
Is sponsored by ChukeTech. So I travel a lot and I have to take long flights. Because most of the times these flights have terrible in-flight screens, no USB charging port, and no power socket. I just do everything.
International flights have power sockets.
So I don't land in a foreign country with a dead phone.
I carry a battery with me.
ChukeTech PC
There you go.
Power bank. This is a 210 watt, 25,000 milliamp hour battery, which is the max.
And also, it looks like it's sized enough and just small enough that you could use it as part of your Cuck Tech.
This is a 210 watt, 25,000 milliamp hour battery.
They tie you to a chair and mess with the technology in front of you.
Use my laptop, I can charge my phone like 4 times over, or my Switch like 3 times over. This really makes the flight far easier to deal with. It has 2 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A port, so you can charge multiple devices at the same time. You can charge up to 140 watts from a single port. It also comes with the smart TFT display that tells you all kinds of health.
Everything you need to power all of your Cuck Tech toys. I'm not gonna let this one go! Wait. Definitely not gonna let this one go.
Like battery percentage remaining, power going in and out, time remaining to charge or discharge, all that. It can charge up to 40% in just 19 minutes, and a full charge only takes 2 hours.
I'm powering my... I don't even want to say that. I don't even want to say this. I'm just gonna type it because, like, I feel like I'm gonna get moderated. But yeah, that is definitely another brand that I've seen. Sound that out. Sound that out. Tell me if you feel like you wouldn't get canceled for saying that. But that is a brand. I've seen it. Now, what's even funnier is, okay, I know, you've got NIC for network interface card. Oh, make it larger? Hold on. Of course, because, you know, why don't you let me zoom in? Well, it's, hold on. We can't see because, you know, you're on what you call it? TikTok. Hold on. Can I do it in here? Yeah, this should work. Nope, that won't work. Sup, alright. Hold on. I just got to make sure that LibreOffice isn't going to open another document or that, and I'll show you it. Okay. It's this. That is an actual brand. I don't even want to say it. Now, of course, you have NIC, network interface card in the beginning. And then you have Giga at the end, like gigabit. Now, what's even funny, if you think about it, so when I lived over in the Middle East, they don't pronounce it like gigabyte. They call it gigabyte. So imagine saying that. I feel like that is too close to get me canceled. You're black, you could say it. Well, then you say it.
I'm telling you, it's a must-have for travelers. Check out the
What's your favorite in-terminal text editor?
Thank you again to Tube Tech for sponsoring this video.
I'm basic, just whatever's there.
And I don't want to hear any 9/11 jokes in the comments because I'm brown. Only I make the jokes. Yeah, taking planes suck. But what makes it slightly better is the in-flight entertainment. When you're watching The Dark Knight for the 8th time on a shitty 15-inch LCD screen, while the audio is fucked up because somebody did something to the audio jack, and you can't even use your own headphones because they're wireless, and we got rid of the audio jack everywhere. Those in-flight entertainment systems are also running Linux. The really old ones used to run like Windows CE, and they were shittier. Speaking of random things that are annoying, you know the ATM kiosk, or the airplane kiosk, or the self-service kiosks at like McDonald's. Those are also running Linux. So these used to run
Sometimes.
Linux, I think, and then you would also find the blue screen of death.
Delta IFE runs Linux.
Of Linux.
Well, I know Southwest is running Windows 95.
Drones like DJI run on custom Linux firmware. The Boston Dynamics robot apparently works on Ubuntu 18.04. MRI machines by like GE, Siemens, and Philips also run
You're gonna laugh at Siemens, but not at Cook Tech. Okay.
on Linux.
We see your
And this is
priorities.
really critical that the OS doesn't crash because this is like healthcare stuff. Okay, here's something crazy. In 2008, the London Stock Exchange suffered a devastating crash and humiliated and angered the exchange traders, and the crash was happening because of the underlying Windows platform that crashed. So they decided to switch to Linux using a new Linux-based platform called Millennium Exchange.
This wasn't related to the famed 2008 financial crisis. Oh yeah, it's a separate issue. Yeah.
So apparently since November 2017, Linux has held 100% market share of the top 500 list of the world's fastest supercomputers. Jesus. That was also the reason that they put Linux on the PS3 as well, because they made like supercomputer clusters with it.
No, the PlayStation 3 was not Linux. You could install Linux on it, as we talked about earlier. PlayStation has historically been BSD. They sold PlayStation kits you could officially buy. We showed this in the couple streams ago with, was it Retro Action Tech or whatever? That the PlayStation 2, Sony had an official PlayStation kit that you could get with the Linux installer discs, the Sony branded mouse and keyboard, because the fat PS3s had PS2 ports on the back for keyboard and mouse. It was, it was an interesting, little setup that they had. But PlayStation is based on BSD. How do we know this? Because Sony has actually made comments and patches and stuff to BSD projects related to the PlayStation. But yeah, the Air Force did use 10,000 PlayStation 3s for a supercomputer cluster. I think this was actually a picture of some of it.
Our fastest computer, which is the El Capitan, not the Mac operating system, with 1.8 exaflops of power, I don't know what that means, runs Linux. Cool. The funniest part about this shit is
An exaflop is like 1,000 petaflops, and a petaflop is 1,000 teraflops.
fourth fastest supercomputer, which is the Eagle supercomputer by Microsoft, runs Ubuntu. If I've learned anything throughout this video, it's not that the people are abandoning Microsoft, it's that Microsoft is abandoning Microsoft. Like, they didn't use Windows on their own supercomputer, they went to their direct competitor. And this is ironic.
And Microsoft is installing Linux with Windows Subsystem for Linux just so developers can actually develop on Windows.
in a supercomputer, you want to be as efficient as possible. You don't want a few cores to be doing background tasks like data collection. Because we all know in Windows 11, it's not a background task, it's the main task. Like if you're lucky, then yeah, you can have like one core for your Cyberpunk 2077 or whatever. But the rest of the 12 cores, they're doing like data collection for training their AI models or whatever. And then of course you have the gaming niche, which is being overtaken by Linux. It started with the Steam Deck, but now you have the Steam console as well, which I'm not sure if it runs Linux. Can the editor check this? And no one.
How do you not know that they run Linux and that they make their own operating system? Like, this guy's definitely making clickbaity videos.
Maybe the next Xbox will run Linux as well. Like, fuck it, why not? So why does everyone use Linux? Well,
Xbox won't run Linux.
And that's not even a joke. If you're an airline or like Toyota that ships like millions of devices every year, Microsoft requires you to pay a license per device. Plus, they get a say in how you ship the things. It's super hard to customize Windows since it is closed source. And not to mention, Windows is not super optimized. Like, it's pretty bloated. Like, if they're not using Windows in their own supercomputers because of the bloat. On top of that, you can't really name your Windows operating system like.
So it's not necessarily that they're not using Windows because of the bloat that's a part of it. It's that the Windows operating system can't scale. It really cannot scale well. I don't know if y'all remember this, but I think there was issues with the high core counts of the AMD Ryzen 5950X that I'm currently using, 16 cores, 32 threads, and it wasn't able to properly do the affinity, setting it to the different cores and balancing it out properly, whereas Linux has never had that problem because the CPU scheduler is just so much better.
UX or BMW iDrive or whatever. Microsoft needs to slap the Windows name on there as well. But Linux happens to be completely free and open source. It's actually crazy that Linus Torvalds just made the kernel and he was like, yeah, you can use it for free, whatever. Like, he could have been Bill Gates. He could have been better rich. Or maybe.
No, actually, Linus Torvalds famously said, and I'm paraphrasing here, hey all, I'm doing this fun hobby project of a Unix-like kernel. This is, you know, not going to be planned to be a big or professional project, and here we are. I have the AMD Ryzen 9 7900X. Windows can't handle the 24 cores properly. Interesting. Wait, does the 7900X have 24 cores? I thought they have 12 cores. Yeah, 12 cores, 24 threads. But still, point still stands. Because I was like, the 5950X and the 9950X, I know, have 16 cores. Now, I do want to eventually get a 9950 X3D CPU, but RAM is way too expensive to justify that. Always forget because HTOP shows threads. Yeah.
Is rich, I don't know. Also, this is not an exaggeration, but Linux doesn't require an update every 5 minutes.
X1 2.5 gig NIC and it doesn't show up. For what?
7, but now it's not supported, so you just get a screen saying that you need to upgrade to Windows 11 right now, which probably isn't possible because if you're running Windows 7, that computer probably doesn't support Windows 11. If Linux is free, I have no idea.
Oh, like on Windows? Yeah.
Instead. But it wasn't always like this. 20 years ago, Windows was everywhere, even in all the things I just mentioned. And eventually, people just kind of got sick of it. Even Microsoft got sick of it. That's why most of their VMs use Linux instead of Windows. It's just actually crazy that.
No, that's not why. This guy is really clickbaiting it and doesn't know what he's talking about. It's not that Microsoft got sick of it. It's that there's a lot of things Windows just generally can't do well. And they've realized that. That's why they have Windows subsystem for Linux. It shows on Device Manager, and if I remove the Wi-Fi card, it shows up. Is it some MOBO issue? You may just be missing a driver.
Everywhere, but just not in consumer tech. Anything you touch that isn't very obviously Windows or Mac is probably Linux. Anyways, like and subscribe if you like this video and if you learned something. I hope I blew your mind, and make sure to check.
Clickbait tech talkers who don't know anything below surface information given by AI. Yeah. It kind of annoys me that guys like this get 170k followers, and then I struggled to get people watching a lot of my videos. I'm not hating on the guy, per se. I'm just hating on that this is low-hanging fruit, and you could have done a little bit more research and seen, you know, like, yeah, you heard my complaints.
Bug
Hey,
Pulse is now chilling in the lab.
thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Happy hacking, buddy. I blame AI. Well, AI, I think, plays a role, but here's the thing. I've never shied away from this. I've never hidden the fact. I use AI, LLMs, to help me write and format my scripts. I do. And then I, use a teleprompter. But I fact check everything. I put the information in myself, do the research, double, triple, fourple check it. I'm using AI merely to format it in and make it flow a little bit better. But I don't trust AI to do the thing. So it's not the fault of AI, because the thing is, it's just like blaming a hammer. Or blaming this pair of scissors. If somebody happens to if I happen to be running around with a pair of scissors and someone gets stabbed, is that the scissors' fault or my fault for irresponsibly handling scissors? Think about it that way. It's not AI's fault. AI is just a tool. But you have a lot of people using AI to just put garbage out there. And that is their fault. All right. Next video. It's an active choice to lie this much. It's from Gamers Nexus. Thoughts on Grok AI by Elon. I'm not a fan of Grok. It actually makes a shit ton of mistakes. And the more Elon has tweaked with it, because it fact checks him, the worse I've seen it get. There is I forgot what Yitz was doing with it, but it actually put blatantly false information a few times. I remember at one point that it basically said that Elon Musk is on the level of Leonardo da Vinci. I would not even put those two in the same room, in the same building of intelligence. Leonardo da Vinci was an artist. He actually invented things. He was revolutionary. He was very, ahead of his time. That. Elon Musk just happened to have access to more money to hire people to do the things that he has. As I've said before, a lot of the ideas that Elon Musk has had, I've also had while taking bong rips with my friends during college. I just didn't have as much money as him, because the difference is when you are broke and you are, when you are broke, you're crazy. When you're rich, you're eccentric. Grok AI is powered with diesel generators. Sounds more like the Elon and the devs have actually been sucking the diesel fumes off those generators. Local AI is awesome, but not as powerful. I would dispute that. The power of an LLM is more dependent upon the power that you're using with it and how you have it architected. Gemma 3 12B in my local LLM server, really great. But I also can have it chain and do things agentically, and N8N is going to enhance it even more, and I can have it do research and everything. Honest opinion, ChatGPT is good, but data privacy sucks. ChatGPT sucks with code, I will say that. Ever since they went to ChatGPT 5 and later, I feel like it's gone downhill. Claude is way better with code. When I use Copilot on Visual Studio, I'm using Claude Opus 4.5 right now. That's pretty much what I default to. What are the specs of the local server you got? It is a Ryzen 5500. The CPU is barely there. It's literally just there because it was a $70 cheap CPU I got from Micro Center with a motherboard that merely just fit the GPUs. It's got 32 gigs of RAM. Again, just an on-sale kit that I could use. The GPUs are really what matter. And it's got a 500 gigabyte NVMe for the storage, but it's using an NVIDIA 5060 Ti for Gemma 3 12B. The second GPU, which can do Gemma 3 4B and other small models, is an NVIDIA 3050. And either way, they work really well. Here, I can pull it up for you. 215. So, like, here, let's pull up an article. And I can set up RAG and all that other stuff, train it on other data. But let's go to Ars Technica over here. Let's just pull up a random article and we'll have it summarize it. Alright, we're just gonna take this article here. Look up and summarize this article here. This is Gemma 312B running on my own local server. Look how fast that was with the 5060 Ti. You want it in 4B? I can show you how the 3050 will do. Alright, another article. Look up and summarize this article. Now, this is running on the NVIDIA 3050 with only 4 billion parameters. The 12 billion was the one we did before. And that's the 3050. I'm doing all right, Tanner. How you doing, buddy? Is that an AI that can confirm with other AI and have a network of them? Is there an AI that can? Oh, you're talking about what do you call it? Adversarial AI? Because what I actually was thinking about doing at some point is taking an AI, having it generate phishing emails, and then have another AI read those and determine if they're phishing emails or not, and have it train each other to see if it can catch each other. You see what I'm saying? That's an adversarial model. Now, you can also do RAG, which, what does RAG stand for? Hold on. RAG LLM. Retrieval Augmented Generation. Which basically what that means is, you can have it trained on additional data. So, like, you could download all of Wikipedia. All of Wikipedia is only about 60 gigabytes, just text. If you were to get the actual media, that's 2.5 petabytes. Obviously, I'm not doing that. Take that Wikipedia data, run an embedded LLM on it. You only have to do this one time to pass through all the data and basically index it so that another LLM can use it. With the 3050, the calculations that I saw were anywhere between 28 and 40 hours to do all of Wikipedia's data. And then you can hook that into the interface that I showed you with OpenWebUI, and then have it use that as a data. Frag is better than RAG. I most commonly use it to allow the local AI to index previous conversations. Yeah, but I'm just giving the idea there. But, like, the idea is, I was also looking at, was I was going to download, there's repositories of people with hate speech, like from hateful tweets and stuff like that, and I was going to download all of those, have an embedded LLM trained on that, and then use that LLM as my moderation bot for Twitch, Kick, potentially YouTube, depending on API limitations there, Discord, and Matrix. And I could have my own self-hosted bot to do all of that. And the great thing about an LLM, as to opposed regex filtering, like my mod bot does on Twitch and on Discord right now, is you can then actually have it filter based on nuance. And then I can actually have it look at the conversation history. And then, like, say, Kara's one of my mods. I know they are always, not saying anything that is meant to be inappropriate. But let's say they say something, it could then look at the context of, no, this person historically, they're a moderator, they, don't do bad in the server, this isn't meant to be a statement of hate. But then if somebody else comes in there's no background about that, or we see a pattern, it can then look at the context a little bit different. Just messing up the algo. But then I can also do fun things like have it store the entire chat history in regular RAM, reference that, so that way the bot can then like do a recap of everything in chat and mess with the other people in chat. So eventually I'll have it like do yo mama jokes and other stuff. You see me post bad things, I was active. Kara, I've seen you in my Discord and stuff for years. If anything like that happens, I know it's not you, okay? There's quite a few people in my community that I've known long enough where I know you mean no ill intent. Like, what was it? Like HBX? HBX got into a tiff with another person that was in the Discord. I'm not gonna name names because we don't need to stir up drama. And they wanted me to ban HBX, and I kind of was like, they've been in the server for several years. They've never done anything wrong. They can stay, but you can leave. That's basically how it went. I want to have an LLM trained on this data, all running locally. Yeah, you can totally do it. If I have a database for research, PDF images, TXT, altogether around 400 gigabyte worth of files. Yeah, you can totally train data on that. Yitz at one point was working on training the data on a doctor's keynotes and other talks that he's had as a project for him. Remember that that Discord mod came out of left field. Yeah. Needless to say, I was happy the garbage took itself out in that case. Like, dude, you went way off the handle here, and I was trying to be political, well, not political, apolitical, and trying to, you know, calm the thing, but they kept pushing the button, and it was over that Charlie Kirk thing, and they weren't saying anything bad either way. You know, it was just like, he definitely was more on the Charlie Kirk side, and it was getting to be one of those things where it's like, dude, this is not the time nor the place to really have this kind of discussion, and they kept wanting to push it. Yeah. How would you recommend doing this? How powerful of a server would be needed? Well, it depends on what you're trying to run with it. So, my mod server, this one running it, is only running a 3050 on the Gemma 3 4B result here. The Gemma 3 12B is on a 5060 Ti. It's more a limitation of VRAM than anything. I would ideally love to get a 5090, so then I could actually really do like Code Llama 70B and do some really nice stuff there, but it's too expensive. Although at that point, I may as well drop 4 Gs and get an NVIDIA DGX Spark so I can have 112 gigabytes of VRAM potentially used. But, but anyway, for what I'm doing for my mod bot, I'm actually going to repurpose my old NVIDIA 3070 that was in this desktop here before I upgraded to 5070 Ti. And I think Gemma 3 4B or another small model like that, at most 7B, would be more than enough. Because we're talking about, in my moderation, people don't really have long messages. Like, at most, it's maybe like 500 characters or so. So that'll be more than enough. But yeah, let's continue on. And it's an active choice to lie this much. Micron's commitment to gamers from Gamers Nexus. I love me Gamers Nexus. I love me some Gamers Nexus.
Micron just posted record growth in its data center segment for memory at 257% year over year.
Jesus!
But it also has higher margin now. And because it has higher profit margin, that is being extended to consumer, as we've been talking about, where the consumer segment is paying more for the privilege to buy the memory that gets left behind by the data centers. We talked as well about how we think they're probably going to be reducing the supply availability to their B2B customers who make memory for consumers so they can shift that to data centers as well. But there's new information about Micron's financials that we can dig into today, and there's also some other news in the industry about this. A new IDC report is forecasting an 8% climb in completed PC prices in 2026, directly tied to memory supply reallocation to data center. Whatever you pay for a
Jesus.
computer, add at least 8% to that. But if you're an enthusiast and you need more memory, it's probably worse. It's also
Oh yeah, it's absolutely worse.
4.
I was looking at just for 64 gigabytes of DDR5 to go from one machine to the other would be about $800. You watch his newest video. Which video is that? Hold on. Let me see. Because we're just going through the list. The destruction of home computers, disappointed PC build. This one? Or the news one? Because this one's still not that old. We can always queue this one up for later for another, day. I'm trying to get through the backlog of videos we have. Yeah. If somebody wants to drop that into the review on stream, that'd be great.
To 8.9% in PC market sales. Tom's Hardware published a tweet from PC builder Paradox Customs that noted the company will begin selling RAM-less computers so you can BYO memory.
Why?
Existing sticks in your
Why? Why would you even bother selling a computer that has no memory with it for a pre-built?
Still looking forward to when you can BYO VRAM. The Register, meanwhile, cites analyst firm Tech Insights as dismissing the usual cyclical cadence that align with a drawdown in price for 2026 or 2027, estimating instead that this time the memory elevated prices may remain for longer. Micron's drastic growth and
Do I think this gets worse until 2029? I think it's going to be at least 1 year. Now, I know Samsung said they're going to be ramping up production of memory chips to be able to help the market alleviate these pains, but it's going to be at least a year, possibly 2.
Why it can justify
the destruction
releasing
one?
new crucial memory
Okay.
on October 21st and then killing the brand on December 3rd. In Micron's October 21st press release for its then brand new DDR5 Pro overclocking 6400 CL32 memory, posted just 43 days before it killed the division, Micron said it was committed to gamers 2 times in one paragraph. Micron said that its new high-end memory deepened Micron's commitment to gamers and, quote, cements Crucial's commitment to PC gamers, end quote. They also said, quote, Crucial, a brand of Micron Technology Incorporated, is deepening its commitment to gamers with the debut of Crucial DDR5 Pro OC 6400 CL32 gaming DRAM, end quote. It wrote this about a month before killing the brand entirely. So, like the cake, the commitment was a lie. Micron's commitment here lasted a little over a month. They had to have known what was coming down the pipe in December when they posted this October announcement of their brand new kit of memory. It was the last thing out the door. And because they almost certainly had to have known, that means that we think someone made an active decision to deceive consumers by talking about commitment to a brand and then killing it. That is like, it's an active choice.
It does feel that way. It really does.
I refuse to accept that there's any other possibility. Memory manufacturer Micron began 2025 by introducing new Crucial memory and storage products and ended the year by killing them because selling AI products for data centers makes stock line go up. In fact, Micron's stock line went up so much that Micron tripled its market cap to over $300 billion for the year. And we've already covered a lot of this story.
And also, going back to what I said a long time ago, this is why I tell people you should never judge how well an economy is doing purely on stock market. Because if you look at a lot of the stocks right now, they are being overinflated because of this AI bubble right now. That's not going to last forever. Because we know for a fact the economy is doing not that great.
In our new, I guess, WTF series of videos about RAM prices and then about Micron and then about NVIDIA. But it turns out there's still more to talk about with memory prices, and they are continuing to worsen, affecting anybody who buys modern electronics. Not
Also, I like that he moved the NVIDIA GPU off the desk because he kept smacking it.
certainly are feeling the effects. If you buy, say,
Look at the
64
storage
gigabytes of
companies.
memory
They're the
for
highest this
workstation
year,
type
over
uses,
300%.
and
Yeah.
you're faced with $800 to $1,000 kits of memory, or you buy 32 gigabytes, and you're looking at the high $300, $400 range, $500 range for some of these, depending on the spec you're going with. So it's affecting this audience pretty heavily, but it also affects everybody. Before that, this video is brought to you by Height and their X50 case lineup, including the
I
glass
do
and
see
air
good
version.
things about
X50
these
and X50
height
air
cases.
have unique, rounded
I've
designs
always
with
thought
a heavy
about
focus
building
on
in one
large
of them,
ventilation
but
ports in spite of the curvature of the chassis panels. The X50 and X50
I don't
Air
really
use
need
relatively
anything
thick
too
stand
high-end
panels
for my
underneath the
server
case
builds.
components and have
this is
fan
the
mount
highest end
locations
case
front
I
and side,
have.
bottom
The
and back,
Fractal Design
with
2
the
Mesh
top
FI
supporting
XL.
the power supply in traditional top-mounted rear exhaust. The X50 series tested overall positively in our review benchmarks and made waves for its unique look, including multiple different colors, although the case also comes in traditional black and white coloring. Learn more at the link in the description below. PC system integrator CyberPower said RAM prices had increased by 500%.
Jeez.
SSD prices have increased by 100% since the reference point. Main Gear will likely have to increase prices due to the RAM shortage. Lenovo is stockpiling memory chips, which will lead to increased prices due to less memory on the market because obviously Dell said that it had never seen memory prices increase so quickly and is expected to raise its own prices next year.
Yeah.
G.Skill, primarily a consumer memory brand, warned consumers about rising prices due to AI demand and even said, quote, purchasers should be mindful of the pricing before purchasing, end quote. You know it's good when the company selling the stuff is like, hey, this is not a good deal. You really shouldn't buy from us right now. The normal scalpers are being
Personally,
outdone
don't like
by the
cases with
corporate
side
scalpers
window.
right now, of course, the scalpers too are benefiting.
I
Selling
like
RAM
it
kits on eBay at huge markups.
because it's
Further,
here.
Market analysis firm TrendForce predicts that smartphones and laptops will cost more and will have worse specifications going forward. In that sense,
But
it
for
is
my server
effectively
builds, I don't care.
literally shrinkflation. The
Pricing
spec is
consumers out of
regressing.
PC gaming. No, it's pricing consumers, period, out of computing, not just PC gaming. A lot of people get systems just for their everyday use. Think about this. The memory costs are going to affect Chromebooks. They're going to affect phones. They're going to affect every single piece of technology that has any kind of memory chip in there. Even your car. Even your fridge.
Prior years, but the price is going up. Its table cites a transition down from 12 gigabyte DRAM smartphones to 8 gigabytes in the mid-range, and from 8 gigabyte to 4 gigabytes at entry level, and with notebook shipments projected to shift towards 8 gigabytes primarily. Our technology
See what I mean?
is regressing. TrendForce also expects fewer console sales next year due to the RAM shortage, projecting demand growth as dropping from 1.7% for notebooks.
A lot of streamers forget gamers are not the majority use. Oh yeah. I'm probably one of the very few streamers that actually acknowledges that gamers are really a minority of this entire market. So while you're complaining about your GPU prices, and I will admit, it is a concern, there are far more people that are using their computers for actual work. Whether it be schoolwork, whether it be dev work, whether it be office work in general, or there's a lot of us that are using our GPUs for development-related tasks. Like, I'm actually using mine for LLMs. But I only, out of all the GPUs I honestly have, I've only bought one specifically for LLM, and that was that 5060 Ti. Everything else were older GPUs I had that I repurposed.
To minus 2.4%, from 0.1% in phones to minus 2.0%.
Looking for RAM for my laptop and an NVMe SSD.
To minus
Oof.
4.4%.
Rip.
These changes, again, are due to
I saw the
AI
pre-built will
data
be
center
half the amount of
demand
RAM.
growth
Yeah.
And the metastasis of this that has caused the exorbitant pricing in consumer as the cancer cells of AI and data center have broken free and sort of infected everything within the electronics market and industry. Hardware manufacturers are shifting their production to focus on AI products while reducing supply of consumer goods like GPUs. We just talked about that in the NVIDIA What the Fuck piece that you can find on the channel. It's not news to anyone that when supply goes down, the cost is going to go up for consumers, if people still want that thing, of course. Now, the story is broader than Micron, but Micron has kept consumer memory pricing at least somewhat stable historically, thanks to its first-party supply consumer sticks of memory that you can buy.
Well,
and their
that's
DRAM
gone.
Solution, and this is no longer the case. All Micron cares about right now is, you guessed it, we've got a reel for you.
of AI to AI in AI data centers, AI-enabled phones, AI PCs, AI driven by, of course, AI for AI systems to generative AI.
And here's the other problem with this. Micron was the only... So there were three main manufacturers of memory in the entire market. There was Micron, SK Hynix, and Samsung. Micron was the only US-based one. So effectively now, the USA is going to have to rely upon South Korea for all of our memory needs at the consumer level. That's a little bit effed.
AI for AI in India.
Micron was 25. I think it was more like 30%.
Mind virus continues to spread and infect all of them. Now, years ago,
End of the day, where's this money coming from when all of this AI stuff is over?
About consumers, they don't now. Obviously, it's like they care so little about them that they just decided to not even sell them. But just as a reference point, the company once used Team Liquid, as in the group known for esports primarily, like StarCraft. They used Team Liquid's ad agency to buy ad campaigns for their consumer memory. That included...
Where's the money going? It's this. It's a circular money scheme, basically. NVIDIA is the one that's going to profit, but if you look, it's basically money is just moving between different companies and a whole bunch of IOUs. Because NVIDIA then, invests in companies... to have them, then buy NVIDIA GPUs, which then makes them look like they're shipping more units. So it's like this whole circular money thing where the money is just going around. That's the reality. OpenAI is the one that's going to fail. Oh, absolutely. That's the one I'm banking on because I think they're like close to $1 trillion in debt or something like that. They run, I think, a deficit of $104 billion per year, if I'm not mistaken. It's a real big scheme. Like Mistral is a very small one. I can see them, sustaining. AMD and NVIDIA are both just the shovel makers. They're going to keep money out of that. Intel is basically because, NVIDIA is tied to them. They'll still be around. But, like all these different companies, it's basically just money changing hands. And it's very similar to Enron. It is very similar to Enron. This reminds me very much of the dot-com boom and a lot of the things that happened there.
Us on GN, where they bought ad campaigns for Micron, Crucial branded memory. And so they're hiring an esports group to buy ads from Gamers Nexus. This is years and years ago at this point. It was a long time ago. It was for high-spec memory. At the time, I remember it was relatively affordable for what they were selling versus some alternatives in the market, and it seemed well-positioned. It seemed like they were really trying to kind of break into the gaming market, get noticed by the gaming user base. And it was interesting because at that time, I remember the conversations being that they were specifically trying to establish the brand as a consumer enthusiast-oriented brand, not just a sort of boring enterprise brand, which is interesting because now they would really prefer to just be a boring enterprise brand and they want to distance themselves from all that loser consumer gaming bullshit and move to AI, which is really just me.
And what annoys me is Crucial was always the brand that was my go-to because basically when you needed to make sure your memory modules guaranteed work, because I've had this issue in my own System 76 laptop, which has Crucial memory, I went to go to Micro Center, got G-Skill. It would not post with it. Went back, got Crucial memory, it posted. Samsung and Crucial, but Samsung generally you can only get through OEM markets, were the most reliable memory manufacturers. Pretty much whenever it came to business and consumer needs of memory, and I'm talking over the entire course of my career of 15 years in IT and cybersecurity, I always went with Crucial. That was my go-to for a lot of brands, whether it was I needed ECC memory and servers or workstations or regular, high-end stuff. Like the Windows machine over here has Crucial. This one only has G.Skill because it was on a good sale when I built this machine. But originally this had G.Skill as well. But then the memory went bad, and then I went to Micro Center and got a Crucial kit.
I do think that, obviously, at the end of the day, it's all about money and who will buy the most of the thing from the company, but they really did seem like they were targeting the enthusiasts, gaming, and normal end-user audience and trying to distance themselves from boring enterprise while still maintaining sales there. But there's more money to be made elsewhere today. Micron just made $13.6 billion in the last quarter due to data centers hoovering up all the memory chip supply. And Micron,
that's not sustainable, though.
Boom and bust cycles, wants the AI boom to last indefinitely. Thanks to Micron's lucrative partnership with NVIDIA, billion-dollar government incentives, certainly not at all.
Micron is going to come crawling back to the consumer market when this bubble bursts.
Global frenzy to build and power AI data centers as fast as possible, Micron has gone all in on AI. So consistent with everything else in 2025, and it's looking like now 2026, with the projected price increase on computers in total, we are all paying an AI tax on everything, sometimes literally. And memory is just another example.
Millions of dollars in tax revenue to tech. What the
memory
hell?
Twice now, that situation, but it's still developing. Usual quick background as we get into this. There are 3 major memory suppliers. There's a couple others, but they're not really relevant here. It's SK Hynix and Samsung in South Korea, and then Micron. These 3 control effectively all of the global DRAM supply. Some of the others
We just talked about that.
And they don't have many competitors. Now, there are some new up-and-comers who are not typically factored into the pie charts you'll see of distribution because they're in China. So CXMT, Chongqing Memory Technologies, is one of the most relevant that's kind of starting to break into it. They're making DDR5. It looks like they might actually gain some ground and get a foothold.
Never really seen them.
But we're not talking about them today. We'll cover them in a separate piece. There's some new information, though. So we'll start with Micron's annual earnings, where there's been 2 reports we want to talk about. Micron's financials, though, show why it's obsessed with AI, like every other company that is managing to grift and rip off either other companies or governments at this point.
You know why? You know why? That's why.
For whatever it is they say they're trying to do. And we'll start with Micron's last annual earnings report. Micron revealed its fourth
That's right, cream.
in September when it ended its fiscal year 25 fiscal year. For its fiscal year, Micron generated $37.4 billion in revenue, including $11.3 billion.
It's driven by money sales.
Quarter. Micron's revenue increased by 49% year over year, driven by significant increases in AI demand. Micron's DRAM products accounted for 76% of its.
Oh, I got a lot of sound bites over here,
revenue for the fiscal year, while NAND products took in 23% of revenue. NAND is what's used in SSDs for non-volatile storage, and those prices are also starting to go up. We've talked about that, though. Macro Trends data shows how Micron has benefited from the AI data center build-out. Micron has grown significantly in the last year, with its revenue reaching new heights. Micron noted, quote, "In our March 2024 earnings call, we said that we expect Micron to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of AI in the semiconductor industry, and that we expect to deliver record revenue and significantly improved profitability in fiscal 2025.
And when the bubble bursts, you know what's gonna happen?
That's when I smack the shit out you. I smack the shit out.
Thanks for reminding me that I had a sound, I have a whole stream deck here of sounds. I got a whole stream deck of shh with your name on it.
End quote. Micron knew already that its short-term highest profit would come from data center and AI enterprise, and they positioned themselves for that. Micron has 4 business units: cloud memory, core data center, mobile and client, and automotive and embedded. The cloud memory business unit focuses on, quote, memory solutions for large hyperscale cloud customers and HBM for all data center customers, end quote. Its core data center business unit includes the company's, quote, memory solutions for mid-tier cloud, enterprise, and OEM data center customers, and storage solutions for all data center customers, end quote. Micron's mobile and client business unit includes its client products, including the Crucial brand. Micron's cloud memory business unit includes its HBM, or high bandwidth memory, which we just talked about a lot, in our NVIDIA what the fuck piece. These products are those that are closely connected to NVIDIA. At GTC in March, Micron announced that its HBM3E products are used in NVIDIA's Hopper and Blackwell systems, and underscored, quote, Micron's critical role in accelerating AI workloads, end quote. The year prior, Micron announced that its HBM would be used in NVIDIA's H200 GPUs. The NVIDIA H200 GPUs are the very same ones that the US government just said it would allow NVIDIA to sell into China, even though the H200s were previously banned for export. Demand for Micron's HBM
I don't understand that.
tied to NVIDIA's demand for AI GPUs and its ability to make more of them and sell more of them. So adding China back into it, if China will even take the GPUs this time, there's been some back and forth we've talked about with that, that would also increase the sales for Micron because the two are directly
I'd still
linked.
like to get an
Micron's
H100 though,
grew by
secondhand, when all this shit
257%
collapses.
year-over-year. In just 1 year, the company's core memory business went from about $3.8 billion to $13.5 billion in revenue. That's almost $10 billion more in revenue in 12 months. Micron said, quote, HBM revenues reached a new quarterly record, end quote, in the quarter. Micron's core data business unit didn't grow as much, but still increased by 45% year over year from about $5 billion in revenue to over $7 billion. Meanwhile, the company's mobile and client revenue grew by 2% over the same period. Micron's mobile and client business made about $11.9 billion in revenue for fiscal year 25. Overall, Micron's revenue attributed to AI and cloud memory skyrocketed, while its mobile and client revenue hardly increased compared to its prior fiscal year. Although, some of this is, of course, a feedback loop caused by moving supply and focus to AI. Micron has made memory supply for other consumer-facing memory stick manufacturers to buy for basically its entire existence. And it has run Crucial as a brand for 30 years now, which is the consumer-facing first-party memory that they sold. And in a single year, the company makes more revenue from its cloud memory business than its mobile and client segment, and it snuffs it out. Micron's margins are also higher for AI products compared to the consumer segment. Micron's cloud memory business had an operating margin of 48% in the fourth quarter. The mobile and client businesses had an operating margin of 29%. So it's no wonder that they also started to drag the consumer-facing margin up. We'll talk about that. Speaking of Crucial's new memory, PC Part Picker shows that Micron's new Crucial DDR5 Crucial Pro overclocking 32GB DDR5 6400 CL32 memory climbed from $175 to $322.
Good God.
Its launch in October, nearly doubling in price. Checking this during editing, but after initial writing, we actually see.
So they launched it in October, then they end the entire brand 2 months later.
Best Buy and B&H at the time of original writing. Amazon has the Crucial overclocking memory available though for $440, representing a 2.5x increase since October. If you brought that to any financial advisor, they would tell you that you're a damn genius for investing in such a quickly appreciating asset. When Micron killed Crucial, it said that the decision, quote, reflects Micron's commitment to its ongoing portfolio transformation and the resulting alignment of its business to secular, profitable growth vectors in memory and storage, end quote. And like we've said previously, they're gonna need some Dramamine for that spin because they're so committed to consumer memory that they're killing it. Again, Micron launched its latest Crucial DDR5 memory and then killed the brand in 43 days. Micron doesn't care about consumers. Micron wants to raise its stock price and milk the AI infrastructure bubble while collecting billions of dollars in federal and state incentives and in tax breaks. But getting into some of the newer material, there's another earnings report, which is from December. So 2 weeks after...
Eventually this is going to collapse because people are starting to...
Crucial to a farm.
Get over the hype of AI.
Micron released its latest earnings for the first quarter of fiscal year 2026.
And I don't know how OpenAI is going to even break even.
That's what they call a, quote, essential AI enabler. And now we're getting the corporate buzzwords in there too. While making $13.6 billion in revenue during the quarter, a 57% year-over-year increase. On the post-earnings call, Micron said the memory shortage isn't even close to being done.
We are in a very interesting environment where
so when this crashes,
aggregate demand for both DRAM and NAND
and that entire sector that they're, you know, focusing
ability
on
to provide
collapses.
to it, not just from
Are they going to fire the CEO over that? Probably not.
Micron's cloud memory business made $5.28 billion. Again, topping its mobile.
So now's a
client
decent
business
time to
unit,
invest in
which
AI.
made $4.25
I think we're getting
billion.
close to the top.
Micron's
The time to
margins
invest in
increased
AI
across
was a
all
year or
four
two
of its
ago.
product groups. And Micron is putting its government subsidies and tax incentives to work by increasing its capital expenditures to $20 billion over the fiscal year. But, of course, this is primarily to cover its HBM supply, not consumer stuff. Even Micron said that it's, quote, more than sold out, end quote.
The demand on us is so much higher than the supply that even, small increases in supply are not going to be able to make a dent in that demand. So we are, more
At least for the time being.
The company also said it expects new financial records for its current fiscal year, thanks to the surge in AI infrastructure spending. So basically, don't expect any change.
It's good to invest now.
We've already talked about where we think
gold, silver.
On that, but the two big ones.
Y'all seen the price of silver?
The WTF just happened, one about Micron, and this is the follow-up to that, and the NVIDIA WTF piece. Our thoughts.
It sounds like a high schooler explaining what's happening. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But fewer options.
The reality is, when it comes to the overall market right now, I would be very apprehensive to invest in anything but index funds. That's where most of my money is anyway. Because when the AI bubble bursts, it's going to burst hard. Wait for silver to cool down before buying in. Yeah, I bought in like 10 years ago and started slowly accumulating.
Usually means higher prices. There's maybe a little bit of an asterisk there, which is if nobody can afford anything anyway, they might not buy stuff. And so maybe there's some ebb and flow there. But I sincerely do think, as we've said in the last two pieces, that right now, if you stop buying, they don't fucking care. It's like, you don't want it? All right, fine. We made this for you. All right, you're not happy? Okay, we'll sell it to them instead. I kind of think that's what this plays out as right now. And it is a famously cartel-like industry, memory, where
oh yeah, I remember that scandal.
Branches of government have called it a cartel in the past, as we talked about, and they've been tried multiple times and taken to court multiple times. And actually, GN, we have an article that is cited in one of the antitrust lawsuits that Micron was being sued for at the time. This is not news that they engage in anti-consumer behavior.
That must be making them feel great.
Still collusion and price fixing if they're just talking about it publicly, and maybe not. But the market is obsessed with AI. AI revolves around NVIDIA. NVIDIA darling Micron is driving memory industry decisions now, so we would not be surprised if SK Hynix and Samsung, seeing Micron's decision on Crucial, and now seeing the new earnings report, put something out of their own where they're like, we're actually also going to move supply over. Losing that option for consumer hardware, it's not good. The weird thing is, right now, what we're seeing in the news since we covered Micron last time is system integrator companies moving to BYO DRAM, BYO memory, which isn't, I don't hate it. I mean, if you have memory in your possession.
Bring your own RAM and save big. You're not saving shit right now.
And you can reuse that, I guess. It's an option. It's not thrilling because you're buying a pre-built and then you're still doing some assembly required, although they typically fuck up the XMP and the Expo stuff anyway, so maybe it's for the best. But at least it gives an option where you don't want to spend $500 on 32 gigabytes of memory or something. You could still put sticks in from your previous build. What I think is potentially going to happen next, and what we're starting to see on secondhand sales for CPUs, is an increase in some CPU prices. So something to think about is that X3D in particular is better at sort of circumventing lower performing, higher latency memory kits in terms of their performance limitations because you're not hitting memory as often. So I ran into a viewer not long ago locally, and the viewer asked me, hey, I'm building a computer soon. I don't know if I should buy or wait. And I was like, I don't really want to tell you to wait and then it gets better, but it does seem like it's going to get worse.
I do want a 9950 X3D, but I need at least 64 gigs of
If you
RAM.
can upgrade to something like X3D in socket from non-X3D, that might kind of help if you are memory bound specifically by the spec of your memory kit, not by the capacity, because then you might be able to kind of make up for some of those differences just by the fact that if you look at any of
Right,
our
I'm limited by
old benchmarks for
capacity, so it's a
memory,
totally different
speed,
argument.
When it's on an X3D,
I was
part,
hoping my next computer
not as
I could
impactful as
upgrade
non-X3D,
to
and that's simply because you just don't hit it.
128 or
And
at
you
least
can stay
96.
within the cache of the CPU for more of the operations that you're running, so more of the transactions stay local to the CPU and its cache. So that's something to think about as kind of like an option. It doesn't solve the problem if you need more capacity. I noticed when people were asking me for recommendations on pre-builds they could buy for their kids and stuff for Christmas and holidays, that a lot of the pre-builds now are moving towards 16 gigabytes.
I thought 32 gigabytes of RAM was the most optimal. It depends on your workload. I have 64 in my system right now, but I do a lot of virtual machines.
Hasn't yet heard about the memory situation and would just think they're getting ripped off because they are, but for different reasons maybe. So anyway, that's kind of the update.
Yeah. Pretty much all of my systems have 64 gigabytes of memory because of the workloads that I do. The only laptops or computers, period, that don't is my MNT Pocket Reform, the mini laptop, the IdeaPad 3 that I'm using for school testing. Yeah, every laptop that I have has 64 gigs of memory. Otherwise, with the exception of my latest daily driver, this Tuxedo laptop over here, which has 96 gigabytes. And this is my only device that has DDR5 memory, by the way, that I currently have. So, you have 32 gigabytes. So 32 is optimal. Well, I would say 32 is more recommended than optimal. Optimal will vary based upon your workload. In my case, 32 is the minimum. 64 is optimal for what I do. Alright, next video. This is from Lattice. This is the AI bubble is popping fast.
AI will not replace programmers. I know that's not what you've been hearing. For the past 2 years, it's been nonstop. Devin,
I've been saying that.
The AI software engineer, tech CEO saying AI will dominate their workforce, headlines screaming programming is dead, and the stats seem to back it up. For example, entry-level developer jobs dropped 20% since 2022. Microsoft's code is 30% AI written.
Yep.
Workers aged 18 to 24
That's why I haven't upgraded my DDR5.
9% more likely to worry AI will take their job. So if you're
Wait, who's worrying about that?
2022. Microsoft's code is 30% AI written. Workers aged 18 to 24 are 129% more likely to worry AI will take their job.
I'm hearing those questions all the time in chat.
Lines and watching AI solve your homework in seconds. The question naturally starts to form, what am I even doing this for? But here's what all the hype and all of the posts are missing. They're confusing what AI can actually automate with what programming actually is.
Oh, that I totally agree with.
Most people think that programming just looks like typing code. You sit down, open
Microsoft uses AI given how often their updates break people's PCs. Oh, they were breaking updates on PCs long before that. It has more to do with their QA strategy. So years ago, Microsoft literally had warehouses of computers in so many different makes, models, and variations to do automated testing before they would release updates. Around Windows 7, Windows 8, they stopped doing that because it is expensive, to maintain that. And that's when they moved to Windows Insider and then basically marketed as everyone, oh yeah, you can get the latest, software and all that, and, you can contribute to all that. The problem is Microsoft really didn't count on the fact that, how do I put this? I'm just going to say it bluntly. The average person on Windows is pretty much a moron in terms of the people that are going for Insider. Let me explain. On Linux, we understand bugs happen. It's open source by default, or by its core nature. So when we do run into issues or find ways to make things better, we voice our opinions and share what we find. Microsoft doesn't have that culture. So the problem is a lot of the people on the insider builds, most of the time I find these people, they are the people that are gamers that are just using it because they think that it's going to be the latest and greatest features and they want the bleeding edge of things. But then when they run across issues, the majority of them don't write bug reports. They don't, contribute the feedback and things that you need to do to improve the system. So a lot of these issues are not seen until they hit the general population. So that's where I think the big problem is. Yeah, so Beef Boy, you've been pretty much right on that for the most part.
This was all that writing code and programming and development really was, then yeah, AI wins. Because AI is exceptional at writing syntax, because it's been trained on way more languages and frameworks than any human ever will. But the big misconception is that syntax was never the skill. You can ask any senior developer and they'll tell you they just expect you to learn new languges.
Most Windows users will be happy with typewriter, I believe that.
The visible part, the part that we can see and now automate. That's why all of these posts, and that's why AI really looks so impressive. It's extremely good at the part that was already pretty mechanical. But what everyone's missing is that programming doesn't start with code, it starts with ambiguity. Real world problems arrive very messy and very poorly defined. Someone comes to you and says, we need this feature, or users are complaining about this thing, and this is going to come as a clean, solvable prompt for an AI. And that's why, as a developer, your first job isn't to write code, it's to figure out what the actual problem or goal is. And that requires context. Business.
Let me give you an example here, all right? So, let me open up my project over here in VS Code to exactly what's going on here. We can do a couple of examples, actually. Don't save. We don't need to save that. This is Franken LLM. This is the project that I made to help people install the mixed GPU environment that I have. You have to know when you're coming in and how you want to have this architected and everything to see what's going on. You can't just get a single prompt to do all this. Like, scroll back into my chat history over here. This is me going back and forth with it, troubleshooting, all of that. There's more chats and stuff into it. But, like, this is me going back and forth with it to update and figure out issues. And then when I do the installer, it's like, oh, this is running into it. And then I'm like, okay, we need to do that. And then it'll be like, oh, well, I found these issues. And I'm like, except I just created that file while you were working. So it then had to get the context of this .env was the thing that I had. And then, there's health checks that had to be created, all of this. That's just one example. Another example I can show you pretty much of most of the stuff I've been doing lately. But another one is, so you've seen every time I get on stream here, I have to run my little reset pipewire script so I can automate, I can get the combined outputs for everything. So basically what that script helps me do is when Pipewire has an issue, I can reset it, or I can even set everything up to this combined output over here. So this actually creates that combined output so that I can have all the audio go out. So as you can see, it goes to the NVIDIA card over here. This is the analog, headphone ports that, you would use for many basic speakers. And this is my mixer over here. So this script creates all those, interfaces. Well, it creates an interface to combine all of them. Well, I have to go back and forth with it, trying it. And then I also created a watchdog on there. So you can actually see an example here with some screenshots that actually will then be in the system and monitor the entire thing so that it knows, hey, is this live? And I had to go back and forth with it. Like a flowchart. Oh, you want to see a flowchart? I can give you another example. Would it be the PF Sense? Yeah. Nope, not that one. PF Sense dashboard. Okay. So these were my dashboards over here. No, not this one. Hold on. I've done a lot of projects, so I gotta remember which one I called it. Update Proton GE, NVIDIA capture card, speed test Grafana. Where was it? Was it this? Yeah, it was this. So if we go to the README, you can actually see, this actually has my sim in here, where I actually forward the logs from the Eve JSON forwarder. Well, I had to create a new script to actually pass that through from pfSense in the ways that I needed it, but I had to develop an entire architecture and workflow. So if you look actually over here, let me get this down. This is the flow chart that I have for the entire architecture there. You can't make that in just one prompt for how this flows out. So like it's going, okay, from the PF blocker NG lists, it's going, okay, so the part that I'm doing is watchdog scripts and health checks, restart hooks and service recovery, going into the WAN interface inline IPS mode. The log collector over here, that's the other part I had to build, is then grabbing this information, Eve JSON logs and the filter logs, and it's passing it through. I have a Python forwarder that I built that does GeoIP enrichment over here. Then, you know, you have... it sends it over JSON over UDP TCP, and then the data processing is done on the actual SIM server. That would be this guy right here, to do all of that. You can't make that with a prompt. And a lot of people think that coders are going to be replaced by AI, but AI can't think like this. AI can't have an original, unique, genuine own thought. It can only work on the data that it's been trained with.
User context. You have to know what questions to even ask.
See?
You need to be able to push back when requirements don't make sense. You need
exactly.
to be able to all of these vague goals into something concrete enough to build. And no AI or prompt is going to be able to fully capture that like a human can, because the problem itself isn't fully formed yet. It's discovered by sitting through meetings and through conversation and through iteration and having experience and experimenting. And even once you do know what to build, programming then is still about decisions. For example, making the decision that's more maintainable, or making the decision that leads to less technical debt. You need to think about what's going to happen when the system scales to multiple millions of users.
Agreed.
Or breaks suddenly. And these questions aren't about what's correct right now. They're about consequences over time. And that's where I think AI really goes wrong, is it can only think about what's happening right now and what...
And to that point, so like, you know, the Docker programs I have for like when I go live, it alerts you on Discord and Matrix and Blue Sky and Mastodon. I designed those in mind for scalability. Now, I haven't built in the feature to monitor multiple streamers yet. That's in the roadmap eventually when I have some time to sit down and do it. But that's something AI wouldn't think about until I come about and go programming that in. I build things out for scalability because I have the experience of what if I want to scale this, and oftentimes it's not a matter of if, but when I choose to scale this. So I try to build all of my solutions for the idea of that there can be scalability, or at least most of them.
Given it right now. But as a developer, your job is not to think about this right now, it's to think about the future and have a system that's scalable and able to be collaborated on by your peers. And so all of this is why I think the idea that AI is replacing programmers sounds very convincing, but falls apart under scrutiny. Because AI can generate the code, but it doesn't really own the outcome. It doesn't feel the cost of implementing an error and then discovering it months down the line, and then
this is so true. Days before OpenAI, developer coding 2 hours, developer debugging 6 hours. Days after OpenAI, ChatGPT generates code in 5 minutes, developer debugging 24 hours. Yeah, pretty much. Well, kind of, sort of. Now, I do have to admit that I spend far less time developing my programs and debugging than I did building them now. Because as I tell people, it's the difference between me taking hours and days to build something that would take me days, weeks, or even months to build.
Having to refactor the entire system because of an AI generated mistake that could have been avoided in the first place. It doesn't get paged when your system crashes. It doesn't sit in meetings trying to balance different things and different trade-offs. All of these things are what humans and developers need to do. So all of these videos you might see of AI generating entire systems, or all of these demos, may look impressive because they show the final 10%. The part that was the easiest to automate because it was already formalized. But even when we do rely on AI for that 10%, here's what we're actually getting. CodeRabbit analyzed millions of pull requests and found AI-generated code contains 1.7 times more bugs than human code. Research from multiple universities found 40% of GitHub Copilot suggestions contain security vulnerabilities.
I've come across a ton of vulnerabilities. Like, let's go back to the VS Code example over here. Let me open up one of my projects over here so we can then show which one was, we can just pull this up. This is a good example. BoonTube Daemon. Okay. So this is my YouTube automated poster to say when I'm live. Oh, great. It went to the file that I'm talking about. Just at a simple level, have you used AI in your programs? Yes, I have. I've even built AI into certain applications like this one, BoonTube Daemon. You can actually see there's a Gemini Python file over here. What this will actually do is take the prompt and it'll take... I have it designed in this one specifically. My stream ones do something similar. It'll take the title and the description of the YouTube video and then generate unique Blue Sky, Mastodon, Discord, and Matrix posts based on that to alert people when a video's out, so it's no longer a general, hey, I have a new video out. It's, I can actually show this. If we go to Chief Geek 3D posts over here, here you go. This was generated by, see, BoonTube Daemon. All right, folks, buckle up. Just dropped a new video diving into why Twitter's API costs are a major bummer for us hobby coders and cybersecurity enthusiasts. It's a real head-scratcher, and I'm breaking down what it means for those of us building cool stuff on the side. Come check it out, and let's chat about it. So you can see that was actually, you know, generated by it. That's not mine. That's an automated bot I still have. But you can see it grabs the description and the title and makes a unique post based on that to alert people that a post is live. You know, that's BoonTube Daemon. And the same thing kind of happens here with Stream Daemon. Although I think I ran into API limits because of all the crashing and stuff. But if we go into... Oh, well, it clears it out because, yeah. Oh, there we go. So with AI, I have to reset the other ones because I hit the API quota for that. I'm eventually going to have my local LLM do all this stuff. I just haven't gotten around to it. You can see, like, it literally... So the title was Chill Out Monday, Cybersecurity Rants and Linux Gaming with the date. Live now, Chill Out Monday with Chief Geek 3D, Cybersecurity Rants and Linux Gaming goodness await. Come hang out, ask questions, and unwind with the Geek Gang. Don't miss the fun, join the stream. And then adds hashtags in there. Well, it does that because it also puts it on Blue Sky. But each platform has its own. So you can totally, you know, use AI, but again... I check the code to see what it's doing, make sure I understand it. You can see, like, over here, there's a prompt for it to automatically generate that. But when it came to security issues, for example, by default, AI was creating, it was using old libraries. In some cases, it was making up libraries entirely. Have a good night, Ultra Nanner. And that's why, if you notice, I pin the versions, because it would actually say equal to or greater than. I don't want it to pull later versions because of Shai Hulud. Sometimes I put that notation in there. But you can see, like, I even commented out, like, this is how it put it in commenting out, whereas I would actually pin the version. And I would actually have to go to pypy.org, find what the latest version is, put that in, and then I have Dependabot go in. So, hold on. I will show you what I mean on my Git repo as an example. Penguin Overlord should have Dependabot. Yeah. So from here, there is a little bit of AI automation doing some additional checks. So it's actually pulling in new versions for things. So in this one, it has like Boto 3, which is Amazon AWS Python library. Bump it from 1.41.2 to 1.42.17. Now, why did this get generated? Well, if we look in this code over here, you'll see there's a .github folder. This is what creates your automated workflows for CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery. Did an LLM help me create this? Yes. But does an LLM create that out the box? No. It created it because I had the experience, the knowledge to be like, I need to create CI tests. So what this actually does is when I do a pull request, here, I'll just do one so you can see it. Actually, it already did it. This will actually do a dependency check to see, are there any vulnerabilities in there? Code quality analysis. It'll run it inside the Docker container, see if there's anything weird. It will then test it to see if it runs in Python 3.10 to 3.14 through GitHub Actions. Yes, this is all GitHub Actions. But this is all because I knew what I was looking for. If you have a person just generate some AI code, they're not going to know all about that. Coding isn't just as simple as just writing the code and all that. It's also architecting and programming the entire solution as a whole.
AI models found 45% of AI-generated code had exploitable flaws. GitClear analyzed 211 million lines of code and found an 8-fold increase in code duplication since AI tools became widespread. So here's what's actually happening when you use AI. It's generating code that looks fine. It probably passes all the tests and ships to production. But like I said, down the line, 6 months later, when you need to modify it, scale it, debug it for whatever reason, that's when you discover all of the wrongdoings that AI actually generated in the code. Could be duplicated logic or security vulnerabilities or over-engineered functions that
doing full stack work, and I've noticed.
So even though all of these AI demos and
system design is so important. Oh yeah, system design I would say is more important than the code itself in many cases.
Of this is the T-app. I don't want to go too much in depth into it, but it was
We talked about the T-app. We've talked about this so many times. I have a YouTube video talking about it, but yeah, that was a good example of bad system design because the S3 bucket that they had all the images and stuff stored in was not secured. Wasn't even encrypted, wasn't even password protected. It was just wide open that if you knew the URL endpoint, you could grab everything. And in their privacy policy, they were saying that any images you give us for verification will be deleted within like 30 days or something like that. But they had licenses and selfies from 2 or more years ago. And then they basically doxed a lot of the women that were using this app.
Coded app, which was performing really well at the start until hackers were able to get into the entire database. Or when you see those posts of an AI generating an entire game in a minute, it may look decent for a minute of work, but is anyone actually going to scale this game and ensure that it's fully functional without bugs, without glitches? And the most important part, are real people actually going to play it? But that's not all to say that AI is useless. I think most people just have the wrong idea as to what AI is actually going to replace. It's not going to be software developers or programmers or engineers. So what is AI replacing? Well, to put it simply, it's the mechanical parts. All of the boilerplate code, the syntax translation, looking up documentation, all of the things that have been done thousands of times. And these never really were the core skills of developers. They were just the tedious parts. They were necessary but not valuable on their own. And for these tedious
something
parts,
10 plus year devs would do, but I think juniors should learn it to leverage AI. Oh, I agree. I totally agree that juniors should also learn system design. That's why when I actually work with people that are more junior than me, I generally will pull them in and be like, hey, I'm doing a thing. Do you want to watch what I'm doing? And then, you know, show them what I'm doing, why I'm doing, and how I'm doing. It's similar to, you know, how I learned that from a nursing friend of mine Well, technically, she was an ex-girlfriend of mine. But she basically taught me that nurses kind of have the practice of learn one, do one, teach one.
Found that developers using GitHub Copilot were able to complete tasks 56% faster. And that goes to show you the power of AI to complete these mechanical tasks. But I think what we all need to open our eyes to is that productivity tools don't eliminate entire roles. They just...
I agree. This is why I have a coworker at work that, he's just like, well, you know, Chief is over there, developing this. Anyone can be a developer with, ChatGPT. And my response has always been, prove it. Prove it. Go ahead and do it. Because there's a lot more to it than just having ChatGPT, build it for you. There's knowing how to, design the entire system. Coding is just one aspect of it. Just like you were saying.
What's expected of people in these roles. So AI is raising the baseline for what quote-unquote writing code means. The value of memorizing languages or frameworks or tools is now dropping, but the value of knowing what to build, why to build it, how to evaluate if it's correct, and having experience, well, that's all going up, because AI doesn't know when it's wrong unless a developer or an experienced person can tell it if it's wrong. All of this still lands on developers, which means in practice the job shifts. There's going to be a lot less time spent on remembering syntax or writing code line by line. There's going to be a lot more time designing.
I am working on a calendar, and one table for events is coupled with 2 different types, and it should have been 2 tables. Yeah.
Thinking about trade-offs. The role is starting to shift more towards having better judgment and more experience than the actual execution of writing.
Exactly.
So this is why I think AI doesn't eliminate junior developers like a lot of people have been saying. It just changes what junior means. Anthropic's research on 500,000 coding interactions found that even with heavy automation, humans remain deeply involved in feedback loops. So entry-level developers who just copy patterns will struggle. But juniors who understand fundamentals, ask good questions, and have the experience to reason about systems will be able to accelerate faster than ever. So even though you might be able to use AI to scaffold an entire REST API in minutes and think that's impressive, if you then have to spend another 2 days debugging it or actually changing it to be able to scale, well, the AI isn't what failed, it was you that failed. Because AI can give you speed, but it will never give you the understanding. And I think this is really going to widen the gap between good programmers and great programmers. Not because AI is going to favor experts, but because it amplifies whoever's using it. If you don't understand what you're building, AI will generate confident looking nonsense. But if you do understand, then it becomes a huge leverage and time saver. So all of this is why I think programming and developing isn't disappearing, it's just being compressed. The low-level friction and low-level tedious things to do are now being removed, and what's left is what has always mattered, which is being able to think clearly about problems, systems, and consequences. So if you're learning to code right now, the question isn't whether AI will replace you, it's what kind of programmer are you becoming. So if you want to be the kind of programmer who has all
a good way to put it
necessary to thrive in the evolving
going to read designing data intensive applications
AI tools and with everything going on, well, that's why I use today's sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant helps you excel in math and computer science.
But overall, yeah, that was a, great video. Kind of hitting on the points that I said, like when everyone's like, are you worried AI is going to replace your job? I'm like, no. It's just the difference of who you're going to find out who's better because they're going to still require you to use AI. Any recommendations for system design? In what way? The problem is, system design can mean so many different things. The networking system, the operating system architecture, the server infrastructure. There's a lot of different things, but the main way I would tell people is home lab it. Home lab it. Like, I'm going to eventually do a Kubernetes cluster with a few Raspberry Pis once I get through my Zero Trust network access stuff and all that. But that's how I'm going to learn it, the same way as I did my firewall network and all those other things. But yeah. Okay, let's move on to a few short videos before we call it a night over here. So, from Vampire, he had a couple of shorts in here. From Youth Pastor Ryan, how did they do such a mistake? Oh God, what is this?
Austria, how's your university hospital Graz doing, buddy? Oh, you know, nicht gut. We had a 33-year-old farm worker come in who had a head injury, and then bring your daughter to work day got out of hand quite schnell.
Oh, I heard about
How
this.
Are those related? Yeah, but one of our senior neurosurgeons decided it would be fine if she let her 12-year-old daughter drill a hole into the man's cranium.
Oh, I love this TikToker too.
Swiss cheese a patient's dome? Yeah, it's going through the court system right now, and they could spend a whole year in prison. Yeah, I'm the adults, not the child, obviously. 1 year for letting a tween score a medical headshot? Yeah, well, maybe it could have been longer, but the patient didn't show up to testify. Apparently, he was sick. I wonder why. Hey,
Can't believe that somebody actually said, hey, yeah, you want to do this medical procedure as a 12-year-old? The most I would have allowed a 12-year-old to do is apply a Band-Aid. Like, imagine they just got shot. All right, I'm going to hold down this little cotton swab here, put down the Band-Aid. That's about the most I would allow them. Yeah. All right, so one more short video.
Early Animation are sad to announce that after 28 years, One Piece Season 1 is ending.
Oh, yeah, I heard about this.
Season 1? It's been 1,145 episodes.
So I'm actually watching One Piece now. I've only gotten to close to, like, episode 400. There's a lot! Don't spoil it for me. But, yeah, and then it's been so long that Netflix is apparently going to start a The One Piece show so that you can, catch up to it and the pacing issues is fixed. You should do One Piece. I've heard about that. The problem is it's not on Roku. And I like to lay in bed watching it. I'm lazy, okay? I'll admit it. I'm lazy.
Why are you guys calling it Season 1?
Well, on December 28th, we will air the last episode of the Egghead Island arc, and then, for the first time ever, One Piece will take a 3-month break to resume in April. One Piece will.
You could wait for the abridged version then.
Instead of a weekly one.
With Netflix, you kidding? They're gonna do like one season. I'm gonna wait an episode a week, and then I'm gonna end up having one season and wait 3 years to get the next season. By that point, I could have finished the original One Piece.
Since One Piece was always weekly for 28 years and didn't take any break, that's why you're calling it Season 1.
Yes, exactly. Season 1 of the One Piece anime is 1,145 episodes long, and Season 2 will be 13 episodes long in Elbaf. Then we will take another break.
Wow, this is crazy. We really got One Piece becoming a seasonal anime before GTA 6. I am happy that you guys are slowing down for Oda to write more chapters, though. I think overall, this is a huge W for One Piece.
The question that I have with this, really, because, the one thing is, yes, there are pacing issues in One Piece, but you're able to squeeze out so much story because of how long the, entire arcs go, that you get more insight to, Zoro, Nami, Chopper, all of them, that you get to, like, connect with them more and more, that I'm really worried that if there are only 13 episodes for Elbaf, how much are we actually going to get out of that? That's my concern. Maybe it'll be fine. Maybe they extend the episode length to, like, 45 minutes apiece. But either way, maybe 40 minutes. Yeah, 40 minutes or so. Maybe a full hour. I do want to see them make another season. I'd like them to do the live action one. I know some people didn't care for it, but I thought the live action of One Piece was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, not as good as the anime, but I think it was pretty good. Definitely better than the live action adaptation that they're doing of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Elbaf does have a lot of content, so I don't know how they would do 13. Yeah, because normally don't they do seasons? Like, seasons are normally like 20 or so episodes in anime. Normally. I'd be very curious to see how that is. Because normally it's like, what, 20 to 28 episodes or so, give or take? But yeah. So, I think I've got, what, another month or two of One Piece episodes to grind out. Like, I'm literally watching it when I work from home, because I have a TV right above my work from home desk. Right above the treadmill. And I can get on the treadmill and walk, or sit down and work at my desk and watch One Piece. So, on a good work day, I probably crank out, I'd say about, like, maybe 10 to 12 episodes a day. Wano by itself is 200 chapters. Yeah. I'm, just finishing up the Thriller Bark one. But yeah, so how long is One Piece now? Last I checked, 1,145 episodes. There's that many episodes. There's a lot. My understanding is it is the second longest lasting thing. Do you also respond to tickets or just cybersecurity stuff? Bit of column A, bit of column B. The tickets are cybersecurity stuff. So it's like, oh, this email can't be received. It looks like Proofpoint is blocking it. And then we go analyze what happened. Or Zscaler's not letting us access the thing. Or whatever, you know. But it's all cybersecurity related stuff. Yeah. But, with that being said, apologies for the internet issues we were having. I should have a technician come out tomorrow. I'm gonna be working on my schoolwork and stuff like that for the next few months, so I don't think I'll have as many surprise streams, but I'm gonna be sticking to the Sunday, Monday, Wednesday schedule. I still gotta fit in time around there to make other videos for YouTube and stuff, so I will be doing that. But thank you all for joining me. I love all of you. If you haven't already, follow me on all my socials. Got the YouTube, that's primarily what I'm pushing content out. Live streams on Twitch, YouTube, and Kick, as well as, you know, TikTok. TikTok is where I put the clips for the other videos and stuff. And then, of course, I'm on Blue Sky and Mastodon. And don't forget to join the Discord and the Matrix servers to hang out and chat with the community. The links are in bio for all of these things. And I'll be back on Sunday. And as always, love you all. Stay safe, and happy hacking. I will see you all later. Stick around for the raid if you're over on Twitch.